Would you rather be able to control time or be able to know what other people are thinking?
Oh, God, time. It's not even close. I have no interest in what other people are thinking. I see it way too much. It's part of the reason I got off Twitter. I don't want to know what you think.
Your superpower would actually be not knowing and not caring what other people are thinking.
If I could get to the point where, and I'm getting there, honestly, it's wild. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I'm good. Like now, I can't let it affect me.
What does controlling time actually look like?
I don't know, actually. It's a
like,
really
oh
good
man,
point.
I'm going to be 5 minutes late to this meeting. You just snap your fingers and stop time. And
maybe
I made it in time because I stopped time. I mean, that doesn't do a ton for me. But I mean, if I stop time, can I just walk into the bank vault and, pull out anything I want while everyone else is frozen and then walk out?
Would you if you could?
I mean,
I've asked you before. If you
I'd make sure that the bank was well insured,
well,
and
they
they're
all
not going
are.
to miss it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. If you knew you couldn't possibly be caught because you can stop time, the cameras can't see you because they've stopped. You stop time. I mean, it would be a little too tempting to not do it ever. I mean, I'm not a saint.
If you could rob a
me
bank,
to resist that temptation, like 100%, no chance you're really gonna get caught.
Yeah, zero chance you get caught. I mean, would you rob a bank?
Yeah, the temptation might be overwhelming at that point.
Morning, everybody. Paulie, what would you do?
Is that a topic, wheel topic too?
What?
If you knew you wouldn't get caught, would you rob a bank?
I mean,
probably. I would control time.
Yeah, control time. I don't want to know what people are thinking of me. Oh my God, it's like my biggest fear, honestly.
Now, why did we do that?
Now, if you were
why did we open?
If you were a baseball
he's
player,
not done yet. All right, go ahead.
If you knew like what the pitcher and the catcher and everyone was thinking at every moment,
no, because he could be like, this guy's a clown. I'm gonna strike his fat ass
I'm
out.
also thinking I'm gonna throw a change up. I'm gonna try to get him to swing. At the pitch a little below the zone. I mean, it would be
an advantage.
It'd be a huge advantage. Enormous advantage.
I still don't know why. I don't want to know what people think of me. Whatever controlling time means, that means that I'm down with that.
You could also turn that into easy money. I mean, go on Jeopardy, and if you knew what Ken Jennings was thinking, like he sees the answer, he knows the answer, you'd know every answer because he's looking at it right there.
That's true. Well, welcome in, everybody. There's a reason we started with the topic wheel this morning. It's because we did it yesterday, and the Padres got to win. And just like the great Crash Davis says, you never F with a winning streak, ever. So we'll keep doing it until they lose.
Is it a streak if you only win one?
Yes.
Okay.
For this team, absolutely.
Okay.
This is a massive winning streak for the San Diego Padres. Welcome in, everybody. It's Ben and Woods 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Rino. He's our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
Benjamin Higgins, our Secretary of Homeland Exploration and your friendly neighborhood sports anchor as well. Good morning to you, Benjamin.
Good morning. Just for the record, I have never and will never rob a bank.
You've never even stolen anything.
No, not really.
Never. Did you ever take money out of your parents' wallet?
No.
Oh, God, no. Did you ever do that, Paulie? Grab like a 20 or something
no.
from your mom's purse? Me neither. Never did.
Never.
Our parents all listen.
Yeah, that's true. Our parents do listen.
I would never.
Such a D move to do. Like, it breaks my heart to think about my kids going into my wallet, stealing money.
No, you know what my thing was? Ask my parents for like $20.
Yeah.
Or ask for some money to run down to like 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, right?
Right.
$1.10.
Yeah, a couple bucks.
They want change back,
yeah.
right? They didn't get
change. Yeah, you never
back.
get change back.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
Here's a 20. I want change back. Yeah,
I
right.
always ask for the change back.
Yeah,
you do
I'm
from
sure
your kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Jeez.
I don't always get it, but I always ask for it. Somehow it all got spent. I gave him a 20 for like a $4 Slurpee or $3, whatever they are.
Yeah, Slurpees are $4 now.
Somehow it all ended up getting spent on other things as well.
Well, we are here this morning. We are joined by Nolan. Nolan, what's your last name? Yeah, you can say it. What is it?
Grab that mic right there. Pull it near you.
Last name is Nolan Ezit.
Nolan Ezit. And Nolan is you're a student at USC.
Journalism major.
Journalism major at USC, and you wanted to come in and see how this well-oiled machine of Ben & Woods works.
We're giving him like 30-year-old headphones.
Yeah, old-ass headphones.
Show started like, wait, what are we doing? What?
Well, and he,
how the sausage is made by 3 guys who look a little like sausages.
That's exactly right. And you want to do this for a living, maybe television as well.
Yeah, and this makes it even better. The getting to see the behind the scenes and how everyone is so different from each other.
It's so different.
Somehow meshes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the key. You can't have 2 Bens, can't have 2 me's. It just doesn't work that way. Both of them would be unlistenable, I think, if that was the case. Well, welcome in. It's good to have you. If you have any questions, feel free to fire them over, and we're glad to have you. We were not allowed to have like interns here, because if we did, you'd be working now.
Yeah.
You would be in our YouTube chat moderating, and we would put you to work as an intern. But for some weird reason, Odyssey, or I think it's California, other companies find a way to skirt around the issues. Odyssey does not.
I had an internship here.
Yeah,
not with Odyssey, but in radio in San Diego.
Yeah, so it's some weird law that they don't want to get sued or something, so we can't really have an intern, which would really help this program out a lot.
By the way, just to all the other college students out there who have emailed me over the years asking if they could come in, and I've said no. The idea would be then to ask Paul or Woods to do this, apparently. So,
have you said no to people?
Yeah, I've often said no. Well, we went through a pandemic, so I was told that we couldn't really bring anyone in. So
right.
I used that excuse for several years and just said no to a lot of people, but now I feel bad. I know.
Well, listen, I don't know how much we're going to be able to tell this guy. And the one thing I will say is you often hear from people in this business, they'll say, oh, find something else. Absolutely not. This is the greatest job in the world. We work 4 hours a day. It's fantastic. Now, it's got its pitfalls and it's got its bad, negative things too. Guess what? You're going to find that at every single gig you do, whether it's sale. I mean, unless you're, Christ, I don't know, a backup quarterback in the NFL, your job's pretty much going to suck. I mean, no matter where it is, there's going to be good days and bad days, and this one's no different. But, man, we sure have a lot of fun doing this. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, please let us know. I think everybody's in good spirits this morning. I've slept like absolute dog ass, though. I was so excited from actually getting a win last night that I was a little amped up and couldn't sleep. So I slept terribly. I slept for like 2 hours. I was up every hour. It was horrible.
Well, the good news is we lit the lamp.
That's right.
Finally.
I thought you meant the outdoor lamp.
No.
That looks like, London again outside. It's all gray and foggy.
We were able to get a win.
Yeah, if you're on your YouTube stream, Paulie has this new little neon sign that we're only lighting in case of a Padres victory, and we haven't gotten to use it much since he acquired it.
By much, you mean at all. We have not won a game since we brought that thing in here. Many would say it's a jinx. I would say that it's not a jinx. So now, am I to understand with the Padres win that the Clayton Kershaw meme gate is now officially over? The statute of limitations has passed.
Well, until they lose again,
and then you don't poke the bear.
Be the fodder.
I can't tell you how many DMs I got from people going, that's why you don't post a meme of Clayton Kershaw. I'm like, they've lost since 2010. They've lost every season series. Like, what are we talking about here? We just got beat. We got beat. So, it should be a really good show today. Major Garrett's coming on at 7:35, who never disappoints, ever disappoints. He's the CBS News chief White House correspondent, but also one of the biggest Padre fans you will ever find.
His message to me the other day when we were setting this up was, I've got some thoughts on the Padres.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I knew we would schedule them for like Tuesday or Wednesday. It'd be after a win.
Right.
Of course. However, I know we'll get into it in about 20 minutes. It was not the greatest win I've ever seen.
No, it was a horrible win.
No, I mean,
that being said, pitching was amazing.
It was fantastic.
But listen,
offensively,
nothing's changed.
I can make the argument it was worse than the Dodgers series.
I was like, I watched the game. Waka was amazing. It was fun to watch. And then I look at the box score, just the numbers. You're like, that was really that was a stinker. That was not good.
Tom says we did win once in Minnesota after the meme. Great. You've just made my point. That's why putting up a crying Clayton Kershaw for 1 second on the video board doesn't have anything to do with any sort of losing streak. I don't think the baseball gods were angered. I think we just can't hit with runners in scoring position. That's what I think at the end of the day. But I mean, so many people going, don't poke the bear, buddy. Like, well, it's not they've always been the bear. We've been trying to poke that bear for 13 years and haven't been able to get it done. So, I'm glad it's over. It's finally finished. But listen, as ugly as that win was, as ugly as it was, we don't complain about par. We don't complain about, I don't. All right, I'm not going to speak for you guys. I don't complain about getting pars. I don't complain about getting hits. I don't complain about sexy time with my wife. And I don't complain about Padres wins. I can't. I was so happy that they found a way to get it done last night by any means necessary. I said it on the show yesterday. Last night was game 7. I'm surprised Josh Hader didn't come in even with a 4-run lead. Like he hasn't pitched in 3 months, I think. And so I was really surprised that Bob didn't go, you know what? I'm not even messing around. Like, I'm going to get him in there. Hopefully he gets used today and with a nice 3-run lead or something in the 9th, but Padres did come away with a victory. Yeah, it was ugly. It was absolutely ugly. Things still need to be fixed. Nothing solved. But to get that big monkey off your back, that nasty bitterness, losing taste out of your mouth, that felt good for fans, and I'm sure it did. The players, you saw them celebrating exuberantly after the win last night. So you can tell it was a load off from them too.
I was very glad to see Jesse Agler back in-house, even if we did have to loan him out to television to work with Mud last night. But good news, Jesse will be back on Ben and Woods for the first time in 2 weeks. And he has promised that even though he's on TV, that the incorporator can happen on the Bally Sports broadcast tonight.
Fantastic.
With Mud sitting next to him, which makes it, I think, doubly interesting today when Jesse joins us at 8:35 for the incorporator.
That is going to be fantastic. So it'll be Jesse and Mud again.
Jesse
tonight.
and Mud. Yep.
It's a good combo. They're a fun combo. They're
so are Don and Mud.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a credit to both of them that you could pair them with a lot of people, and it'll work seamlessly.
Jesse is so dry, and it's fun to see him because I usually watch the games at home. If I'm in the car, obviously, and I'm driving somewhere, which is rare at night for me, at least, I don't get to hear Jesse much. So good to hear his voice last night watching that game, and maybe he's a little good luck charm. If they keep winning, do you
Sorry, Don.
Hey, Don, it's Eric Meyer here from the San Diego Padres. You can just take a break, take a breather, whatever you want to do. Don never goes to radio, though, ever. He always is on TV, correct?
Correct.
He's not one that switches around.
He's the
he won't lower himself to come on our
he's
show.
He's the top of the food chain, so when he's there, he's there.
Don won't lower himself to come on this
Every
program.
once in a while, Mud has jumped over, on radio to do 97.3 The Fan.
Yep.
But I know Don has never jumped over.
He's done play-by-play on the Fan, hasn't he?
Yes, Mud has absolutely done play-by-play on the Fan. But Don, no.
It's great to be here with you guys. It's a gray, kind of misty day this morning. Doesn't matter. Everybody's feeling good after a nice dub last night. Well, a dub last night. We got the win. And we'll talk about that and then some. But, yeah, Jesse's going to join us at 8:35. And that's all I got. I'm done for the day. That's literally all I have.
All right, fair enough. Daily Ditty is coming up next. It is
my selection.
Wood selection. So, hey, I picked the theme yesterday, songs about optimism, positivity, and guess what? One day later, we're talking about a Padres win.
Let's keep it rolling.
Put good karma into the air. Good things come back to you. So,
Legendary.
Daily Ditty selection next. Padres. Bob Melvin talking about the quarter point of the season yesterday. We can get into that. Our Padres wrap up at the bottom of the hour of yesterday's 4-0 win over the Kansas City Royals. We'll get to all of it as we get started, headed toward 10 a.m. this morning. It's Ben and Woods. We'll be right back after a check of traffic here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Got to get to the chorus a little bit for the positivity. Any guesses on who it is?
Not really.
Yes.
All right, crank this, Paulie. Sorry, YouTubers. Because oh, yeah. Make you a little tingly. This is Acquiesce by Oasis. Why did I say Acquiesce. It's Acquiesce. One of my prouder dad moments the other day was Bo was playing in the living room, throwing the ball against the wall, and I hear him singing the chorus. Because we need. I'm changing his diaper. I'm putting his diaper on to go to bed a couple weeks ago. I was telling Paulie he's a huge Oasis fan because I love Oasis.
You don't hear that sentence much.
What?
Putting on his diaper, he's a huge Oasis fan.
It's true.
Yeah.
He's 5 years old. on my children, he looked at me and goes, Dad, have Liam and Noel figured it out yet? And I go, they haven't, buddy. But the rumor is they may be getting back together. And he goes, I really, really would like to see them play. And I said, if they get back together, if we have to fly to London on a Wednesday, I said, we are doing it. It will be the greatest thing ever. So
do you think we'll break up one day and then we'll have like a reunion, get back together?
That's a good question.
Like a falling out, and then we'll go years and years.
You're so hard to have a falling out with. I'm
Mike
very
and Mad Dog
easy.
have done that for 15 years.
Are they back together
Well,
now?
they get back. I'm saying like every few years, I feel like it's the
they
next
did it
reunion.
on First Take recently, didn't they? Where
Yeah,
they got
did
together for a
that.
segment.
They went to a conference
Yeah.
and did a big thing. They did the podcast to get like every couple of years. It's like, whoa, it's the Mike and the Mad Dog.
We should
reunion.
at some point have a falling out just so we can do a reunion show that
Reap
gets
the
everyone
benefits of the
excited about it.
Now, again, I'm very easy to have a falling out with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Massively. In fact, most of my relationships have ended in a falling out of some sort. I'm very sensitive. I'm overly sensitive. I'm dug in, very stubborn as well. I feel like I apologize a lot, and I feel like anybody I've ever had a falling out with, they never apologized to me. I always felt kind of like, and like with all the radio hosts I've worked with before, I feel like I was acquiescing, and they never acquiesced. You're a big acquiescer
And an acquiescer.
and
as
an
well.
acquiescer as
Yeah.
well. You will acquiesce. I'm not so good at acquiescing.
True. That's very true.
I'm not great at it, but
Yeah.
I am working on it. So no, I hope we never have a falling out. I hope one day we just look at each other and say,
It's time.
this has been a hell of a run. It's time. Let's go play some golf, right? Or let's go do something. Like
Maybe that will be what actually drives the wedge between us. Like
a
no,
literal
I want to
wedge.
do this for another 5 years. And you're like, no, I'm done.
So
I don't want to do this anymore.
Trust
it's like,
me.
what? You can't leave me now.
Trust me, I've thought about that. Who's going to be the first one to say goodbye? That's the worst. Like, if Ben left and I'm like, well, I got to soldier on without him because I'm not done yet. Or if I left, you're like, please don't leave me in the lurch like this. Yeah, it'd be tough. It'd be tough.
Contracts are up at the end of the year.
We could be done.
Maybe
And
Ben's like, you know what? I want 3 times as much as Woods, or I'm out.
that's true. That is true. Which would not be deserving of it, but you could ask for it. What we could be, this show could end in 6 months, right?
Could.
Technically,
yeah,
technically, this
absolutely.
could be the last, 6 months.
You better listen a lot just in case.
listen so much and tell your friends still. But yeah, this could be it.
Couple of little notes before we get to the wrap up of yesterday's game. Certainly hope Manny Machado is okay after he took the pitch to the back of the left hand, I think it was, from Brad Keller yesterday in the second inning. Drove in a run, but he obviously had to come out of the game 2 innings later. I wondered at that moment, obviously you can run the bases no matter pretty much. I mean, unless your hand is completely mangled,
Right.
Manny's going to want to stay out there.
Dangling finger.
And if he feels like he can get it in his glove and still, pick a ball and he can throw with his other hand, I was wondering whether he would come up to the plate the next time. And the next time his turn in the order came through in the 4th inning, they sent Rougned Odor. So clearly a holding of the bat issue. Bob Melvin did say after the game, if you missed it, they did x-rays. They were negative. No breaks, which is good. So it'll just kind of, they'll do some treatment today, see how much swelling there is and make a determination on Manny's status. But sounds like he dodged what probably would have been the worst outcome, which was a broken bone somewhere in the hand. They said no broken bones, at least that they could see on the X-ray.
I got to think, okay, let's work neck down. So neck down, getting hit in the top of the hand, maybe the worst. I mean, getting hit in the elbow sucks. It knocks the feeling out of your arm. Getting hit in the
Pain-wise
back,
or potential injury-wise?
when I see one of our guys get hit in the hand,
much
I'm like,
anywhere in
he's
the hand,
out.
yeah.
He's out. I'm like, he's done. He's out for at least a week, 10 days, whatever it may be. You see him wear it in the back. They're like, and it sucks and it hurts. Side ribs is awful. Legs you can live with. Ankle or back of hand. And when I saw Manny turn and Hannah goes, why? I thought it got him in the elbow. I go, no, watch again. And it just square right on the back of the hand. There's no meat there.
I think,
It's so
I
close.
think
Screaming
it's a triple whammy because, as you said,
There's no meat.
no protection because it's very thin skin right there. Lots of little bones.
Yes.
And then it's on a bat.
Yes.
Which then
There's no give.
Yeah, there's no give. It's going to actually amplify the effects of having it get hit when it gets crunched between a ball going anywhere from 80 to 100 miles an hour and the bat that you're actually moving kind of forward because you're checking the swing. So you're meeting it there. There's really no give. That can be the worst possible of injuries for a guy. So certainly hoping Manny Machado's okay. I saw a lot of immediate takes like, all right, well, let's put him on the injured list and give him some time to get healthy and get his mind right and get that swing going again.
Jake from Cespedes Family Barbecue said yesterday, he goes, I think Manny may need a phantom IL stint. Well, here's what you don't want. You don't want a real IL stint because he's got a broken hand. Boy, people forget they got short memories in this town, don't they? Woo! Tough crowd.
You can say that. I've heard the theory. It may even be true for some players. Manny Machado's not the kind of guy that you mandate goes on the injured list if he's not hurt. That's not going to fly.
No.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? He's like, you just signed me to an extension. You want me to do a fake IL stint? I'll pass.
And then it's also, I mean, if you've got a young up and comer who's like mashing in AAA, or you've got a really deep 26-man roster and you got guys who are ready to step in and they're probably going to hit a little bit better than an injured Manny Machado could. Yeah, okay, you can at least make the argument. Who do you want out there on an everyday basis? Do you really want to see Rougned Odor,
Brandon Dixon
playing,
dude?
for 10 plus days just so Manny can, get his head right a little bit?
Like, I know he's scuffling now. I understand that. I'll be the first to tell you, as the number one president of the Manny fan club, Manny's playing terribly right now. Terribly. He's not squaring anything up. Nothing's fallen. It's a whole team.
I still think the value of him going up and the terror he can still put in a pitcher,
absolutely
making him work, being Manny Machado up there,
the defense obviously
is worth more than a Rougned Odor in the bottom of your lineup.
Yeah, it's like the least hot sports take
Odor
ever.
hit a couple of liners to the outfield yesterday. Nothing else happened. I mean, yeah, every once in a while, I'm sure he's going to run into one like he did in that last series and get a home run. But, I don't think Manny's going anywhere. If he's healthy or can be healthy in 2 or 3 days, then he'll be back in the lineup as soon as he possibly can.
People really saying that?
I saw that many times last night, very quickly. All right, we'll get into yesterday's game,
man.
our Padres wrap up. What a pitching performance by Michael Wacha on a beautiful night at Petco Park. Another sellout crowd.
Paulie picks another
bobbleheads. Yep.
Paulie picks another great game to go to.
It was a great one, at least pitching wise. We will get into all the details of last night's win when we come back with more Bennett Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All guests on Ben and Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet find new roads. Major Garrett is going to join us 1 hour from now. May look forward to our Major Garrett conversations more than any other guest. Would you say that?
I really enjoy
Major.
You do. He's really great. I mean, he's a professional orator. Orator?
He's a good Padres fan. He's loyal and dedicated to his team and has been for decades, but he's also not afraid to be critical and has, I think, a fairly good perspective and grasp of what's good and bad about the Padres, no matter what the situation happens to be.
Now, somebody just put in the chat here, Benjamin, on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube, by the way. Go to YouTube, search Ben and Woods if you want to watch there. Somebody said,
drop a like, smash that subscribe.
Yeah. Drop like, smash that subscribe button. Jake says Woods should ask Ben about his NOLA tweet. Have you?
Well, let's get into the game because it's part of the game recap. Someone accused me of being a little trollish last night on Twitter. You're not on Twitter, so you don't see it anymore.
So wonderful.
But
you leave Twitter and he turns into George Carlin.
Yeah, is this what's happening? Is he? All right.
I wasn't particularly enthralled with the way the Padres performed last night offensively. Pitching was great, but I actually felt that was one of the more frustrating games of the year, at least for a win. And I go, we don't complain about wins. You don't complain about wins.
I don't. It's any means
I'll complain
necessary.
A little bit about what I saw last night.
Let's break it down. Break it down.
All right, we'll get to it. All of the highlights coming up in our Padres wrap-up right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad. Got a collision now on southbound 5 near Sassafras, blocking the left lane. Couple vehicles involved, and still clearing an accident on southbound 15 at the 5. That is over to the right shoulder. Brought to you by Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad with brand new 2023 Cadillac XT4s and XT5s in stock now. Stop in or shop online at CadillacCarlsbad.com, a proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Miss any of yesterday's Padres game?
Did you catch a game last night?
Well, we've got you covered.
Thank you.
It's the Padres Wrap-Up with Ben and Woods.
Let's go! It's our house right here, baby.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
That is the ball game, and that is a winner. This about damn time.
2-1 over Xander's head. It goes all the way to the wall, and Fernando's going to score. Padres have a 1-0 lead on the wild pitch by Brad Keller.
So luck in the favor of the Padres here in the first.
First pitch to Fernando. Swung on, base hit to the right side. Trent Grisham is going to be sent. He's going to score. Padres with a 2-0 lead on the RBI single by Fernando Tatis Jr. The second hit of the evening. Padres have a 2-0 lead. Checks the runner at second. Now the runner at third. Now the pitch hits Manny right in the shoulder. And Manny is in pain. He's bent over just outside the dirt area of home plate as Austin Nola now crosses the plate. That'll make it a 3-0 Padres lead. And Bob Melvin is going to go out and see how Manny's doing. First pitch swinging. Pasquantino diving play by Jake Cronenworth. He gets up, takes it to the bag himself. You can hang a star on that one. Jake Cronenworth with a diving play to his right for the final out of the 6th inning. Right-hander's 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. On the curveball again and place it even better than the previous one, Tony.
It's always a good thing for the pitcher to be throwing something completely different than what the hitter's thinking.
2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. A new career high for Michael Wacha. 11 strikeouts on the night, 2 down in the 7th. 0-2 pitch. Ground ball to the left side. Fielded by Ha-Seong Kim. Cross the diamond in time, and that'll do it. Another 1-2-3 inning for Michael Wacha. He has been outstanding tonight. Right-hander's pitch. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit for Ha-Seong Kim. They're going to send Xander Bogaerts. He's rounding third. He's going to score. Padres with a 4-0 lead on the RBI single by the fan favorite Ha-Seong Kim. 6, 7, 8 batters for the Royals. First pitch Massey in the first strike. Swung on, line drive, base hit into right field. And the suspense is over, folks. That is the first hit that Michael Wacha has allowed this evening. And he's going to get a standing ovation from this capacity crowd of Friar Faithful. And the entire infield is heading out to the mound, giving him pats on the back. Bob Melvin is heading out to the mound as well, and he's going to signal to the bullpen. A great effort by Michael Wacha. And we have a runner on the field. The pitch is thrown. Strike 3 called on the outside corner, but it may not apply as we have somebody running on the field. Security has already dragged him down, and I'm not sure how they're going to rule this, Tony, because he was on the field. I don't know if any of the umpires called timeout. The pitch was a strike. It should be strike 3. But Nick Crotto immediately held up his hands as though to say, is that even a pitch?
And they're going to call it strike 3.
The crew chief, Alfonso Marquez, signals strike 3. And that'll do it. The Padres win this ball game 4-0.
We're very aware of what the strike zone was early on, and not trying to do too much, take some pitches, get on base. Toddy gets hit, drives in a run. Kim gets hit, drives in a run. We left some guys out there, but progress.
Oh, well, look at Ben. You are looking
pitching wise. I've got nothing but great things to say about last night's game. Michael Wacha,
excruciating.
I had modest expectations for Michael Wacha, but for the most part, he hasn't just been solid. He's been really good. He's been a really good 5th starter for the San Diego Padres, and I don't think anyone can argue with that. Any team would be absolutely thrilled to get out of their number 5 starter what the Padres have gotten from Michael Wacha this season. You certainly don't expect 7 no-hit innings like he got yesterday, going into the 8th inning with a chance to get that no-hitter. Had to talk his way back in there. Bob Melvin was, he talked about it after the game as well. Paulie probably has some of the audio. Bob Melvin was not really that happy about it. He would rather not have that situation where he has to deal with a climbing pitch count.
The worst thing ever.
And making a decision on a starter. He hates having to pull a guy out, that's working on a no-hitter, but
you can't let him go 135 pitches.
He has to think of the long term, the rest of the season, and keeping guys healthy. He was in agony essentially during that, break between the 7th and the 8th inning.
I got 2 short clips. This is what Wacha said to Bob Melvin to get out there again for the 8th inning.
I'll keep it private. He's been 1 out of the way twice in his career.
Oh,
so
that makes it 10
talk
times
a little
worse.
bit about what might the 8th look like, and not really the 9th at that point.
And then Bob says he really does not enjoy the no-hitter aspect as a manager.
No, it's terrible.
And then there's a history with him too. He's had some injuries, and you have to be cognizant of that. And so, yes, it's everybody else has a great time. I don't. And my starting pitchers were giving me a little bit of a hard time because they were having a good time with it, but they knew I was not.
He's a
Blake and Joe just messing.
Come on,
Bob.
man.
Come on.
You can't sacrifice health and the long term for an individual achievement. In my opinion, that's just how I feel. I was on a text thread with some buddies last night, and they said, "Do you send him back out for the 8th?" You, Woodsy. And I said, I probably don't. He said, 101 pitches. You got to think, too, you need 6 outs. It's very unlikely you're going to throw 6 strikes. They're going to roll them all over, and you get the no-hitter.
Right.
It's very
best
unlikely.
case scenario, you're at 112 to 115 pitches going into the 9th inning. And then Bob's even doubly in agony.
What do you want, 130?
But are you going to pull him out in the 9th inning in the no-hitter? Instead
of the 8th. The 8th really was the pivotal. And trust me, Bob Melvin never wants to see base runners on base for the opposing team, mostly because they can run roughshod over us, and that's how big innings start. When he got that hit, he was like, yes, hell yeah. Sorry, Michael, I gave you a shot. I was so...
Just 2 pitches in. It's like
2 pitches in.
It wasn't the worst outcome for Bob Melvin.
Better luck next time, kid.
Watching Michael Wacha pitch last night was like, it was like watching an artist. That changeup, when they slowed down the change, and you watch, especially how he pitched Jackie Bradley Jr. Jackie Bradley Jr., he's not the world's greatest hitter anyway. He looked like he'd never played baseball before. The ball was outer corner black and diving, 3 feet. The run he had on his changeup was outstanding. He actually, too, he got squeezed like a madman. He had guys rung up on 2 seamers that would start at their hip and end up to a lefty. and he was getting squeezed on pitches up. He was getting squeezed on pitches in. He pitched better. He pitched better than his line said, which is
the
shocking.
changeup was his pitch, like it always is. But the fastball was really good.
Really
and then
good.
he switched later in the game, used the curveball more.
Nasty.
It was
dude.
just a really nice piece of pitching.
It was artistic, man.
By Michael Wacha. Second shutout win, just the second of the season for the Padres. Nick Martinez has been involved in both of them. He pitched 7 innings of 3-hit ball in a 1-0 win over the Braves back in April, and he pitched the last 2 innings of Michael Wacha's effort last night. So Nick Martinez taking part in both of those shutouts. So the pitching obviously was great. I don't think the hitting, well, I mean, I know the hitting was bad. It wasn't, I don't know that it was even as good as it was in Los Angeles where they won the 3 games.
It was all singles.
Ultimately, offensively, the Padres had 4 hits, none for extra bases. They went 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They left 16 runners on the base paths during the game. I mean, they didn't really, and it wasn't like they had incredible eyes and were taking pitches that were just an inch or 2 out of the zone. They were, not swinging at non-competitive pitches that were bouncing and that were in the batter's box and that were 3 feet over their heads.
We got 5 hits, by the way.
Oh, 5? 5 hits? Did I miss a 5th hit
5
somewhere?
Singles, Ben.
There was no advancement offensively. There was nothing in my mind that felt encouraging other than the confidence of getting a win. Honestly, Tatis had a couple of singles. He continues to look okay, but
Hassan Kim, nice piece in
and
there.
then we talked about yesterday, he's had a nice May swinging the bat, much better than his April. But everyone else, ultimately, there just wasn't much there offensively in that game. And it was, to me, still a big-time cause for concern with what's going on with this Padres offense.
Yeah, a couple of numbers jump off the page at me. Jake Cronenworth, 0 for 4 last night. He's 1 for 24 in his last 7. He is scuffling now. He's striking out a bunch, way more than we're used to seeing from Jake. That's good for an 0.42 average, Ben, in the last week. Matt Carpenter, 0 for 3, 2 Ks. He's 1 for 20. He's good for an 0.50 in his last 7. He struck out 11 times as well. That's tough, man. They're just not going good.
Nola
right
had
now.
a hit, but again, he's the bottom of the order.
He was on.
Rich. Yeah, he was on.
What's up with all this?
Grisham is slumping. Manny is slumping.
At any cost.
Paulie, but why are we bunting with 2? Why is Carpenter trying to bunt with 2 outs, and why is Nola trying to?
That was one of my. If you want to get into my Nola tweets, I definitely was a little harder on Austin Nola than you will usually see me in that game, considering he didn't have a worse game by any stretch of the imagination. But to me, first of all, that throw down to second, they did a slide step. They did everything they could to give Austin Nola a chance to throw out a runner and
spiked it.
I mean, so the tweet that I think that everyone thought was a little mean, and I felt a little bad about it actually after I tweeted it, was I said, Austin Nola's throws to second lately look like Jake Taylor in the beginning of Major League.
Yeah, Jake, how are the knees? They're good. They're good. Getting off, no problem getting the throw off to second? No problema. All right.
I wouldn't BS you.
I wouldn't BS you about that. You better if you want to make this team. Yeah, it was.
But
it was
a
little Jake.
What
Taylor
actually really bothered me more.
But hold on. Let's give credit where credit is due. We talked to Jake Mintz about this yesterday from Cespedes Family Barbecue. The pitcher went out and twirled a gem last night. That's on him as well.
It is.
He gets some credit for that. Like, if we're gonna pound the guy, he was on base 3 times, 2 walks and a knock. Yeah. On base 3 times, called a monster game in a win. Throws not pretty. Pop time's terrible. Arm strength is not really there. But
my biggest issue though was when he came up with a runner at third later in the game, if 2 outs and laid down a
great bunt, by the way.
Well, that was my issue. It was almost a perfect bunt. Mm-hmm. And he didn't beat it out. If you can't, and my tweet was, if there's 2 outs and you can't beat out a nearly perfect bunt, then you shouldn't be bunting.
Swing
you
away.
can, if there's 1 out, you get the runner home like he's done
100%.
before. Fine, that's good baseball. That's smart baseball. But when you have to beat,
that's panic.
You have to beat the throw to first base, or the inning is over, and you lay it down almost as good as you can.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That is such a low percentage play. I mean, how much better would the bunt have had to have been? Because there was really very little else he could have done. He put it right down the line. The third baseman was back. Yes, the guy made a nice play. Some people said, well, he could have thrown it away. If your offensive strategy is hoping that the third baseman throws it away, then it's not a wise decision when you're up at the plate. I would rather take the 1 in 10 chance that he hits another grounder up the middle for a base hit. That's a better strategy than trying to lay down a 2-out bunt that you have almost no chance of beating out.
I think that one and the Carpenter one made my hair fall out. The Matt Carpenter trying the drag bunt with runners at first.
2 outs again.
2 outs again. Were they second and third or first and second? Second and third.
Second and third.
Bro, you're the DH, and I know you're scuffling. I just read your numbers. 0 for 3. He's 1 for his last 20. You're trying to make something happen. We were in a thread with Adam last night. Adam did not like the Fernando Tatis Jr. Trying to advance on the ball that trickled away from Salvador Perez. I have no problem with it. They're trying to make something happen. Now, yes, you have Juan Soto coming up next. Okay, hindsight being 2020. Fernando Tatis Jr. has made, and by the way, he damn near looked safe. So
close.
Yeah, I looked at that and I went, that is a team that is pressing for runs. Aren't we all okay with hustle plays? Like sometimes they get you, sometimes they don't.
Well, especially with a guy that was wild all night.
It just sucks that it was Soto coming up next. Like that's where you don't want to run yourself out.
You feel like this guy can't even come close to throwing it over home plate.
Right.
You're probably going to get walked in anyway.
Of course.
The bases are loaded. He's a good chance he's just going to force you in because he can't hit home
but
plate.
I see Tatis thinking,
I got to go.
Look, he's already thrown 4 over the catch, to the backstop. So the next wild pitch, I'm going.
Bad read, a little bit of a bad read, still almost beat it.
And in his defense, it bounced almost directly down, away from him.
Yes.
Making it much harder for him to see like how fast it was going away from Sal Perez on that play. So I can understand how he saw the daylight. Look like, with Tatis, any daylight, even at home, usually that's plenty for him to get home. But I think it didn't get away as far as it looked, and he didn't have a great angle to see how far it got away from Salvador Perez.
Yeah, it's a bummer with Soto coming up, but Soto can also drive one out of the ballpark there too.
He ended up walking.
Yeah, he ended up walking. So kind of a bummer, but hey, listen, it's a dub, man. That's a dub. That's one. That's one in the books.
All right, we'll come back. We'll play some Take on Woods, see if we can do better than yesterday's 0-0 score. Qualify another listener for Las Vegas. Also,
even Jake Taylor beat the bunt out in Major League, says J.R. Johnson. He beat the bunt out.
Got a bone to pick with Ken Rosenthal as well. Coming up next on The Fan. Hour number 2, Ben and Woods, 7 a.m. It is Tuesday morning here on 97.3 The Fan.
Interesting little talker here.
So we've got Major Garrett coming up at the bottom of the hour. Take on Woods here in just a couple of minutes. I'll throw out the phone lines in a second to get a contestant. But yeah, Ken Rosenthal, who I will acknowledge is one of the leading baseball reporters in the game today. No doubt about it. He's
Ken
up
is
there.
A nice fella.
Up there with Jeff Passan, as one of the top baseball guys covering the sport here in the modern game in 2023.
I do, let me say this, Ben, I do respect Ken Rosenthal immensely.
I do as well. But the piece that he posted on The Athletic yesterday got under my skin a little bit. He took a stab, and he admits in the very beginning, hey, this is an opinion. Can't really quantify it, but we just saw a Padres-Dodgers series. And what is it that makes the Dodgers essentially so much better than the Padres all the time, no matter what? Because it's not the talent level on the rosters. So he writes, consider the rosters. The Dodgers are carefully, if not perfectly constructed, a team featuring 10 homegrown players, as well as 3 others who are part of multiple World Series teams in Los Angeles. There's a shared history among many of the players, a familiarity with one another, a culture of development and winning that eases the transition for newcomers, helps them succeed. The Padres, on the other hand, are a top-heavy, slapped-together collection of imported stars. None of their homegrown players, relievers Steven Wilson and Tom Cosgrove and left-handed starter Ryan Weathers, who was recalled to start Sunday, plays an especially major role. Padres players can tell you how things were done in their previous organizations, but other than spending money and making bold trades, 2 admirable characteristics to be sure, what exactly is the Padres way?
I think it's a fair question. My biggest issue, and it's my biggest issue with Dodger fans in general, and this is going to sound like real hater stuff from me as usual. Why are the Dodgers propped up as the gold standard for winning? They win a lot of regular season games. A lot. More than most teams.
So many division titles. So many. They've
dominated the West. I tip my hat to you guys for doing that. The way that they carry themselves like a dynasty has always bothered me. And it gets under my skin. We were 13 years old. You and I. Just got the old hair under the arms, just started your voice probably sounded the same since you were born. Hey, good morning, mother. 13, Ben, the last time they played 162 game schedule and won a World Series. We're going to be 48 years old this year. What are we talking about? They're not a dynasty. And that's the thing that drives me bananas. My buddy Alex, who I love, he's a big Dodger fan. I said to him, I go, stop acting like you're anything special. You've got one 60-game chip in 35 years. Is it more than we have? Of course it is. But if you don't win the ultimate prize at the end, should you be held up as some Patriot-esque franchise?
I actually have a different reason why that piece by Ken Rosenthal bothered me than you do.
That's my underlying second skin, how I feel.
I mean, if I'm being honest, would I rather have the Dodgers' success over the last 20 years than the Padres? Yeah, absolutely. I would rather win division titles. They've gotten to some World Series. Even the short season that doesn't really count is better than what the Padres have by leaps and bounds. So
let's just say bounds.
Okay.
Bounce.
I'm not disagreeing with the premise that the Dodgers have had more success than the Padres.
No one is. I'm
lately.
not either.
What I don't totally get, though, is why in baseball do you think it's so important that you have 10 guys who happen to maybe play a season or 2 together in the minors versus 3 or 7 or none or 15? What is it that they do other than, okay, yeah, maybe some outfield and infield communication, which, by the way, Padres are great defensively. They are really good at that part of the game. They look like a well-oiled machine out there. What is it that you think they have achieved by coming up together? Is there something I just don't understand where the benefit is in that?
Is there an X factor?
Is there, is in baseball, is there an X factor to a Dodger way or a Cardinal way? And why do you think the Padres don't have any of that? Isn't baseball a sport where you go up there and in an individual series of actions, you're trying to achieve? As a hitter, you're going up there trying to hit, trying to get a base hit the ball hard, get on base, just like the Dodgers are, just like the Cardinals are, any other team. Does it matter that does it matter that Gavin Lux played with, I have no idea, coming up through the minor leagues, when he's going up and trying to get a hit off Blake Snell? Does that make a difference at all in that situation? I don't think it does.
It doesn't. And it's such a good, it's an interesting thing that you can't really cover in 10 minutes. Let's look at the winners of the last few World Series. The Astros, they have a way. It's not like they don't spend big money.
They've developed good talent.
Absolutely, they have.
Every team should be trying to develop great talent through their minor leagues. The Astros have been very successful at it. The Padres try to do it. The Dodgers try to do it. Maybe the Padres haven't been as successul developing their own talent.
Depends on how you look at it, because they have developed good talent, good enough that they can trade it for major league talent.
Correct. So I again, when I look at the tenure of AJ Preller, I have no problem with zigging while everyone else zags. None. I think it's great. I think it's revolutionary. Now, if it works, it's revolutionary. If it doesn't, yeah. I mean, the beating your chest of, well, we developed this guy, blah. What's the difference, man? You're still trying to gather and stack as many wins as you can.
Now, if you're trying to win on the cheap, like the Rays, you better hit a lot on your minor league development system, because you need cheap players and you need to replenish those players when they start to get expensive. That's the only way to win cheap. But that's not what the Padres are trying to do. They're trying to put the best players on the field right now every single season. And I don't see how some sort of, minor league philosophy is changing that. Do you think the Cardinals, like their philosophy back when I was growing up, hey, they were stealing bases and they had Ozzie Smith and they had Vince Coleman and they were playing good defense. When Albert Pujols came along, though, it wasn't like, hey, we need you to steal bases and we need you to, bunt and get on and hit singles. No, they let Albert Pujols do what he did well, mash the ball, hit it hard. That's what every team is trying to do, is put their players in the best situation to succeed. I don't think there really is a Cardinal way or a Yankee way. What was the Yankee way when they won their titles, Woods?
Spend a buttload of money. And, they had their core four of guys. But other than that, that's
not a way.
No,
those are good players.
They're good players.
That's good players. It's why they won championships.
They went out.
That's just the baseball way. Acquire good players.
Try to acquire good talent. I mean, and that's, again, it's AJ Preller has done it differently. He's done it differently. But when I look around the league and I see Edward Olivares starting at DH last night for the Royals, am I like, crap, let that one slip away? No. He moved Olivares for a bullpen piece when you're in a playoff run, I think. Was he part of the Rosenthal deal or something? I can't even remember. There's been so many trades over the last few years. There's a few that got away that you're like, damn it. Every effing team's got ones that got away. Every team. We've just been more willing to part with guys and try to upgrade than other teams have. And we'll see if it works.
But it's not like the Dodgers didn't trade O'Neal Cruz.
Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, they've had similar stories as the Padres. I don't totally get it.
Bad signings. They signed Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, I mean, they've spent money on guys that did not work out. Absolutely. They absolutely have.
Happens to everybody.
They've made some good decisions as well. They put good players on the field. That's not a organizational philosophy. Every team is trying to put the best players on the field, make the best decisions they can.
You brought up Dustin May, who would make any GM look like a genius.
100%.
He's filthy.
He's great. But
that's not the Dodger way.
It's the whole thing of the way. I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of it. To me, any team that wins all of a sudden has some sort of culture or philosophy.
Correct.
It's not necessarily true.
Winning
it's baseball
culture, in my opinion. Winning breeds culture.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
culture doesn't breed winning necessarily.
That can give you confidence and swagger and an intimidation factor, but that's because you were winning, not because you did it differently than every other team is doing it.
I will say real quick, baseball, I think, is the one sport though where I don't really believe in the Cardinal way, the Padre way, the Yankee way, the Dodger way. It's just kind of the baseball way.
Yeah.
I do believe in the Patriot way. I do believe
football's completely different.
The Spurs with Greg Popovich.
Basketball is completely
Totally different.
But baseball kind of stands alone.
They're choreographed events where 11 guys or 5 guys have to work as one, move as one, think as one.
And maybe the Patriot way that we have heard about for damn near 20 plus years.
And there are philosophies
that's leaked into baseball.
We're a run first team. We're a defense first team. We're a dynamic passing team. There are philosophies that absolutely define the culture of a football organization. The Golden State Warriors, we're a 3-point shooting team, are different than other teams. They have their way. They have their philosophy. But in baseball, it's not like that. Yes, you can be a little more aggressive on the base paths. Maybe you swing a little bit more at the first pitch or you take more pitches, but honestly, we're dealing with fractions of decimals in baseball, the differences between the teams. It just comes down to who's performing better, who has the best players. All right, we got to keep moving. Need a contestant for Take on Woods, 833-288-0973. Call quickly. I will, just because I like Ken Rosenthal, I will finish by saying he does acknowledge at the end here. Perhaps the Padres will still prove the better club this season, even though they currently trail the Dodgers by 7 games in the West. But compare the farm systems and future salary commitments, it's obvious which team is set up better long-term. The same club that, in a season of supposed transition, is 16-4 after a 10-11 start, again looking like the class of the division. I don't disagree with that. The Dodgers do have more promising young players coming up. They can trade them. They can bring them up. I wish the Padres had a few more guys that they could promote right now, give an opportunity to take over for some of their struggling players.
Yeah, we traded those guys for Juan Soto, which I don't have number one OPS in baseball over the last 2 weeks.
Which I don't have a problem with, but I just thought it was an interesting piece.
The ownership here decided we want to win a World Series. Let's exhaust let's exhaust everything we have. Money, prospects. Let's try to win a World Series. How can you be mad at that? How can you be mad at that? It's not working right now necessarily. Season ain't over. It's not over. So let's see how it all plays out, Ken.
All right, let's get to Take on Woods. All right, we got Steve as our contestant this morning. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. All right, you are trying to qualify for our getaway to Las Vegas. If you beat or tie Woods, we will put you into the drawing for the 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas, plus tickets to the Little River Band show on August 5th at the International Theater at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. If you were listening yesterday, it's a theme week here on Take on Woods, our musical trivia challenge. Every song title ends in the word love. Yesterday we had a 0-0 game with the modern music. So you've
get one, Steve.
You've got It Ends in Love oldies, It Ends in Love 1980s, or It Ends in Love 1990s as your choices today here, Steve. What would you like to play?
80s and 90s is my wheelhouse, and I'll try to get one on the board. So I'll go with the 80s.
80s it is today. All right. All of today's songs released in the 1980s. And again, all of the titles end in the word love. You'll have 60 seconds to get up to 5 correct. If you don't know an answer, pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. We'll start with a 2-second song. Paulie will play a clip of a song from the 80s. You need to give me the title that ends in the word love and the artist to score that point. We'll go on from there. Steve, I know you know how to play. Are you ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock in the category It Ends in Love 1980s edition. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Steve. Let's Take on Woods.
San Fran Band, pass.
You might as well face it. This 1986 hit became Robert Palmer's signature song.
Pass.
Peter Cetera's first post-Chicago hit was which 1986 song featured in the film The Karate Kid Part 2?
One of the worst songs of all time, pass.
When they changed the line, I want to arrest you, to I'm so lost without you, Air Supply landed gold with which 1980 hit?
Pass.
Fire is the word Michael Stipe holds for several seconds at a time throughout which 1987 REM hit?
Pass.
Go back to our 2-second song. Oh, this has been a rough start to the week, Steve. Another zero. Let me go through the answers here. I can't believe that. That was The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News, one of my favorites from the movie Back to the Future. You Might As Well Face It, Robert Palmer. Addicted to Love. Glory of Love, Peter Cetera from The Karate Kid Part 2. I'm All Out of Love by Air Supply. I'm So Lost Without You. Yes, the original lyric was, I'm all out of love. I want to arrest you.
Glad they changed
much
that.
Better, much better lyrics on the second go around. And then Fire, the Michael Stipe REM hit. This one goes out to the one I love, Fire. All right, well, let's bring Woods back in. I know he's winning this one. I know he's winning this one. Yeah. No chance. All right, so here we go. Reset the
no chance,
5 questions. No chance. All right, 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Steve.
That is Huey Lewis and the News, The Power of Love.
Correct. You Might As Well Face It. This 1986 hit became Robert Palmer's.
Addicted to Love.
Correct. Peter Cetera's first post-Chicago hit was which 1986?
Glory of Love.
Correct. When they changed the line, I want to arrest you, to I'm so lost without you. Air
All
Supply.
Out of Love.
Correct. Fire is the word Michael Stipe holds for several seconds at a time throughout
One
which,
I Love.
correct.
REM.
5. Yes. 5-0 in the win over Steve today.
That's how you do it right there.
Steve didn't even bother waiting on.
Yeah, I
on
didn't.
hold.
It was not.
Didn't want to see if we get another 0-0
The
tie.
no chance was unlike yesterday when I thought, oh, who knows? We could have a straw. This one wasn't going to be tough for you.
That was a fantastic category.
Can you believe that Air Supply? It used to be, I'm so out of love. I'm all out of love. I want to arrest you.
I'm all out of love. I want to arrest you. Makes no sense at all.
I'm so lost without you is so much better.
It's so much better. I want
Thank
to
God.
arrest you. Very
Who's the genius
very
that
creepy.
saved them?
That is very, very. I want to ball gag you. We're gonna need to change that, buddy. I don't think we can say that. How about I'm so lost without you? That works. That works better. It's just notes. There's no bad ideas here. I want to ball gag you.
That was a don't do this sort of lyric when they first wrote it, apparently.
That is absolutely horrendous.
What else do we have coming up on Don't Do This today?
How about the accusations in game last night from the Blue Jays broadcasters talking about Aaron Judge?
Interesting.
This was really interesting audio.
We'll get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
It's time for Don't Do This.
What were you thinking?
3 stories from the world of sports that make us all shake our heads.
Why? How many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
You idiot. You moron.
Dumbass.
The apple sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't do this
Do not tweet that.
with Ben and Woods
I like a Nickelback song or two.
on 97.3 The Fan.
Now, we're just a few minutes away from Major Garrett, so let's get right to it with our Don't Do This stories. And I will begin with a pure money grab by the NFL. I know, shocking out there. But yesterday's announcement that one of the wild card playoff games at the end of this season, January 13th, 2024, will be streamed exclusively on Peacock. First time they've ever had a playoff game that won't be available on over-the-air or cable television. You'll have to sign up. You'll have to pay the monthly fee, whatever it is, to Peacock just to watch the one football game. And the reason they're doing this, I can defend a lot of the decisions the NFL has made over the years. You know, go play games in Germany, London. They're trying to expand the brand.
Streaming. They've done Thursday Night Football now is on Amazon Prime.
They have. Those are regular season games. So this is a playoff game. And that's a season-long deal. You know, that's a rights deal with a media organization.
Still on NFL Network a lot of times,
and
too.
You know what? Tons of people have Amazon anyway, you know, and get Prime, and they're going to be able to watch it. Not that many people have Peacock. And to have to sign up to watch just one football game, to me, is an insult to your fans.
My beloved Notre Dame Fighting Irish did this bit, and did the Peacock bit, and it was not fun.
The reason they're doing it is that Peacock is paying them $110 million for one game. One game, which is, you know, equals about $3.2 million for every single NFL owner. Just for the one game.
Yeah, it makes sense for them to do it then.
Well, I mean, it's easy for them, but they've been doing layoffs around the league because of the current economic climate. And, you know, I'm sure none of those employees that they've been laying off are making anywhere near $3.2 million. The amounts the NFL just got for one single game on their schedule the entire year. Just bad luck, very inconvenient for fans. I have no interest. I'm not going to pay to watch one.
I was just
NFL
going to say,
wildcard playoff game.
You're talking all this smack. You know, you're going to download Peacock and watch that game like the rest of us will.
I don't think so. There's other wildcard games. I doubt they're going to make it one of the better, more attractive ones. Whatever ends up
playoffs
being the matchups. Yeah, it's a wildcard game though.
Imagine Sports Robot not watching a playoff game.
I'll miss that one.
I bet you won't.
I will.
I will bet money.
You're up.
Put it on the bet board.
Interesting audio last night surfaced. Yankees are playing the Blue Jays. Aaron Judge is at the plate. Listen to what Buck Martinez, who is he's a tough listen. And Blue Jays, who's the other guy, Benny?
John Kestisher.
John Kestisher. A lot of hard words today. They're talking about Aaron Judge's ABs. And at one point, he's sitting there, and you see his eyes divert into the Yankee dugout. And it looks like he potentially could be getting a sign.
Like very clearly
like stared over at the dugout. All right. So here's what they said
a couple times
in game.
You don't want to go, throwing allegations around without knowing, but
no. I mean, you know what? I have had guys look back when I was catching, and you obviously could see it, and he couldn't see the catcher with the way he was looking right there.
Yeah, just did it again.
And he hits a missile.
He hit it a country mile for his second home run of the night.
So then after the game, they asked Blue Jays manager John Schneider, he said, it's kind of odd that a hitter would be looking in that direction. So apparently what happened.
Here's what Judge had to say.
Oh, you got Judgy. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was kind of a lot of chirping from our dugout, which I really didn't like in the situation where it's a 6-0 game. And I know Booney got tossed. Like, I was trying to save Booney by calling timeout. Like, hey, hold up here. Like, let me work here. So I was kind of trying to see who was chirping in the dugout. So it's 6-0. Like, Booney got tossed. Let's go to work now.
So I guess the explanation was Boone got tossed for arguing balls and strikes, but it's 6-0. He's like, I'm up there. I'm in the middle of my at bat, and I can hear you
He
morons.
doesn't want to hear.
Yeah.
Come on,
Come
you're
on,
low.
you're
That's terrible. He doesn't want to hear that when he's up.
He's up. Don't cost me maybe a close pitch, right? From you guys being lippy in the dugout. We're up 6-0. Let me do my job here. So I don't know if there was anything untoward going on, but it was a little odd to hear them. And there's longer audio of them like kind of going off on him a little bit, like, I don't know, this is very sketchy, and we'll see if anything comes of it. But he I mean, as far as excuses go, that feels like a decent.
Not only was he not cheating, he was trying to be extra classy.
Yes.
You just accuse someone of cheating.
He's like, no, I'm being double classy.
They were trying to. He was trying to be super classy because his team was winning, and didn't think that his teammates should be chirping at the umpire.
He said he went and talked to a couple of the guys that were chirping. Was like, hey, don't do it again while I'm up there. I don't want to hear your guff while I'm up there. Hitting is hard enough.
Finally, for do this,
DD mega doo-doo.
I mean, you got to appreciate the phenomenon that is Shohei Ohtani. He had another incredible night last night for the Los Angeles Angels. First of all, he hit a 468, I think, foot home run to Boog's Barbecue at Camden Yards, like over the deep right center field bleachers and into the barbecue. Went 4 for 5, came a double short of the cycle, reached base 5 times, scored 3 runs, drove in 3 runs, and pitched 7 innings, allowing 4 hits, striking out 5, and improving to 5-1 on the season. His only knock is that 3 of the 4 hits he allowed were home runs, and he's actually that's been a bit of a bugaboo lately for him. His ERA in his last on a handful of starts is something like 6. It's gone up from like 1 to 3.23 because of the long ball has been an issue. But hey, the Angels won 9-5, and Shohei Ohtani is.
We don't talk enough about it.
We don't. We really don't. And
we really don't.
Just, I mean, he would have been the first player ever to hit for the cycle. If he got a double,
Oh my
would have been the first pitcher ever to hit for a cycle in a game. It was also the second longest home run ever by a pitcher. That was the actual pitcher of the game. John Gray, I think, hit one longer at Coors Field, but this one not. This one much more at sea level. Obviously, he's a freak of nature.
Freak of nature.
It's incredible. And that's Don't and Do This for a Tuesday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we'll get the perspective of our friend Major Garrett. He's the chief Washington correspondent for CBS News, giant Padres fan, and one of our favorite guests coming up next year on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. No mystery what's been the trouble with the Padres in the first quarter of the season. Bob Melvin said it before the game. They said, hey, evaluate your team through a quarter of the season. And he goes, well, what? We're fifth in pitching. Defense has been great. It's the offense, stupid, essentially, is what Bob Melvin said. I know it. We all know what the problem is. We're trying to fix it. We believe that we've got good offensive players. It's just not happening right now. We've got Major Garrett standing by. We'll talk to one of our absolute favorites, the Chief Washington correspondent for CBS News and our East Coast Padres fan-in-chief, joining us after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Premier Kia of Carlsbad. Still a handful of problems here. Crash on southbound 5 right before Imperial. It's over the right shoulder. Southbound side of the 805, right around Bonita, there is a solo vehicle accident in the center divide. Northbound side of the 805 past the 163, stalled car in the center divide. With a huge selection of new Kias in stock, they're sure to have the Kia of your dreams. They're right up the 5 freeway in the heart of Carlsbad. Or shop online at premierkiaofcarlsbad.com. And Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And Major Garrett joins us now on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Good morning, Major.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Fantastic, my friend.
We're getting through. We're trying, but
yep.
Yeah, it's been not what we expected, obviously. Before we get to the Padres, though, I just had Paulie ask you. So you don't watch the show Succession, but
I do not.
So yeah, people who do, this last episode was the election night episode, and it just got me thinking about you. And there's a big controversy on the show about making a call, like making a state call, like who won this certain state, and it's such a big deal.
It's so fascinating.
It got me thinking about how you guys do that on an election night, and how big that is, how important that is for our democratic process and what goes on behind the scenes in the real world, not Succession, but the real world of Major Garrett.
Sure. So CBS News tries to be very transparent about the means by which we call a state on election night. I know this because in 2020 and in 2022, but especially in 2020, I was at the big board with our head of elections and surveys, Anthony Salvanto, and whenever we called a state, the first thing we did after calling it, projecting it for either Trump or Biden, was explain exactly why we made that call, based on the percentage of vote in, based on how much either the winner was ahead by or how much the trailing candidate needed to get of the outstanding vote. Where was that outstanding vote? What's the historical patterns of those areas where the outstanding vote is, and why we don't think, based on that mathematics, historical patterns, and other details, we think that trailing candidate can't catch up. Therefore, that's how we make a call. We try to be very, very open and explain every step of the way in places where the election results are close and the outcome likely hinges on that state call. If you remember, on 2020, Fox and the Associated Press called Arizona. CBS and all the rest of the other networks did not. And we kept having a conversation internally about it. And our guy, Anthony Salvanto, said, they're probably right, but our models do not allow us to make that call. And if our models don't allow us to make the call, we don't make it. Pure and simple.
That has got to be one of the most nerve-wracking decisions. All right.
Yeah.
Let's just say that's not exactly how it happened on Succession.
No.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. Major, whenever the Padres are in a skid and, losing 5 games in a row, being anemic offensively.
Yes.
I often think of you because you are way out there on the East Coast and you are as dedicated as it gets. And my sympathies and heart goes out to you. How excruciating has it been this first couple of months?
So it's been hard. Look, I don't need to tell any Padre fan this has been a hard month and a half. Let's just review things that don't win ball games. Sellouts don't win ball games. God, I love to see the Petco Park filled, but sellouts don't win games. Salaries don't win baseball games. Expectations don't win baseball games. Predictions don't win baseball games. Baseball wins baseball games. And in 2 of the 3 most important parts, the Padres are playing really well. Pitching is better than expected. Defense has been outstanding. Offense has been a huge, conspicuous problem. The good news about this underwhelming start to the season is, with a team batting average of 198 with runners in scoring position equaled only by one other club in Padre history, the inaugural 1969 Padres were still in the race. So we're epically bad at the one component part of baseball that matters for winning baseball games, and we're still in it. And lots of other teams are struggling. Fans of the Mets, Phillies, Cardinals, Cubs, Yankees, Guardians, Astros, Angels, they're all kind of bummed out too. No one's really crushing it except the Braves, Dodgers, Rays, and Orioles. This team's going to win at least 97 games. We're going to go to the playoffs. It's all going to bounce back. I am 1,000% certain of that.
Major, what do you when we hear a lot of fans who have their theories as to why certain players have been struggling. One I hear a lot is, well, Manny just signed a new big deal and Jake just signed a new long-term deal.
Yeah.
Now they're comfortable. They know that they've got theirs and for whatever reason it's led to a poor performance. I don't believe that theory, but I know it's out there. What's your kind of take on especially certain guys struggling, especially guys who just got their contracts?
So when I always think about contracts is this, it's not my money. Okay. I'm not invested in the money part of this at all. It's Peter Seidler's money and it's the player's money. It's reflected in ticket prices. So if you pay ticket prices, you are nominally involved, but it's not your money. Okay. So don't worry about it. I actually believe, especially in Jake Cronenworth's case, the contract has added pressure to him.
Yeah.
But there's something I think we're overlooking. I think we're overlooking, all of us as Padre fans, at the magnitude of change, not only within the roster, but positionally. Crony is playing first and playing it magnificently. Prioritizing defense is a headspace that takes away some of your headspace at the plate. Hassan Kim is playing second, playing it very well, but that's also a positional shift, which changes your mentality, changes your brain space day to day. Soto's in left, plays it okay, sometimes below okay, but that's also an adjustment. So there's three players in the starting nine every day who have different brain space than they did last year as to what their daily requirements are. And I think it's had an effect, at least initially, on their offensive output. Look, we're all frustrated with Austin Nola. He got hit in the face late in spring training. I think that has had some effect on him. The magnitude of change, not even counting the pitch clock, which I think has thrown a lot of players' rhythm off, plus when you have veterans on a roster, veterans take time to adjust, and also veterans don't have that sort of youthful, spirited energy. So it looks, and this is so true about Manny, like he doesn't care. Manny cares. Manny cares immensely. He just doesn't look like it all the time. Same thing with Carpenter and Nelly Cruz. Those guys are veterans. They are going to figure this out. And trust me, San Diego Friar faithful, you want this time to happen now. You do not want it to happen in September. This team now understands fundamentally how hard it is to win baseball games. They will rally amongst one another. They will pull this stuff together. Also, lastly, I think this is one overlooked component of this. Bob Melvin is a great manager. Bob Melvin's entire managerial success has been built on what? Getting more out of less. He's never had a roster like this before. That takes some adjustment as well. He's learning. The players are learning. This will all come together. I'm, again, 1,000% certain of that.
I love that. I feel so much better talking to our pal Major Garrett, CBS Chief Washington correspondent here on Ben and Woods. Yeah, the chemistry, certainly I'm kind of a big believer in winning breeds chemistry, not the other way around. It's hard. There's a lot of turnover on this roster every single year, Major. There's a lot of turnover. That takes some getting used to, certainly. But if they can win 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row, they're going to look like they have the most team chemistry of any team in baseball. And that's really what it takes. And winning breeds culture, and that success breeds all of that. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Completely. And if there's one criticism I would have of the approach offensively, is that we've had a lot of individual at-bats, not nearly enough team at-bats. Okay? Guys going up there trying, I'm going to do it for the team. No, do what the situation calls for. Either take pitches or go the other way, choke up, whatever. Do the kind of things that the team needs in that situation, and don't try to be the hero. I think there's a lot of players have internalized the expectations, internalized the huge crowds, internalized wanting to do well, wanting to satisfy a fan base that's starving for a world championship. All of that has accumulated pressure. This team needs to think like a team, think about team at bat. So even if you don't succeed, quote unquote, if you foul off 2 more pitches than you otherwise would have, that's a successful team at bat. humility, a little bit more at the plate, a little bit more team orientation. I think those things will come. But if I had one criticism of the offensive approach, it's everyone's trying to be the hero. Don't try to be the hero. Be a teammate.
Major, now that we're about a month and a half through the season, I don't know how many games you've gotten to watch, but
almost all of them.
Okay, well, then your impressions on the impact of the pitch clock and the other rules changes in baseball this season.
So I'm very much appreciative of the pitch clock because it lets me go to sleep at least 35 minutes early, which for an East Coast fan of a West Coast club really makes a difference. So the pace of play is so great. The three of us who are participating in this call have memories of baseball used to be played like this in the 70s and 80s.
Yep.
This is much more like the game I grew up falling in love with and I grew up watching. I'm so much happier the shift is not there. I'm glad there are more attempts to steal bases. It puts more pressure on pitchers, more pressure on catchers. The geometry of the game has come back. I've talked to you guys before about how I was getting really sick of baseball being defined by two things, strikeouts and home runs, both of which are linear. The beauty of baseball is its geometry, how things move on the big plane of the field, players moving, baseball moving, players and run, all that stuff. That's returning. And it's made the fan experience and the pace of games so much better. But baseball players are ritualistic and finicky. And these changes are affecting how players play the game. And the adjustments, though subtle, I think are affecting players. I think it was a huge adjustment for Juan Soto out the gate. He's clearly made the adjustments. He's hitting better, more authority, barreling more balls up. We just need to get that up and down the lineup. The one thing that the lineup doesn't feel like is it doesn't feel as long and as tough as it actually is. It feels like it's got holes in it. It doesn't have holes in it, but it's playing that way. It won't play that way for the rest of the season.
Major, I started with an election question. I'm going to finish with one as well. I'm already seeing like candidates in Vermont and Iowa. It seems too early for that for me, but you know more about this. What are we going to be watching for the next year and a half here?
So on the Republican side, that's where the real conversation is, at least for now. As long as Biden is seeking re-election and there's no real desire among Democrats to do anything other than that, that's going to be pretty quiet. On the Republican side, this month ahead is going to be very important. DeSantis is going to get in. Tim Scott from South Carolina, Republican senator, is going to get in. Mike Pence is going to get in for sure. John Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, might get in, and Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, might get in. That would be 5 people adding to the Republican side of the ledger, at least in the next month. So you're going to start to see what the Republican conversation looks like. And Chris Christie said something last week I believe is fundamentally true. There isn't a campaign on the Republican side yet. Why? Because no one wants to criticize Trump, not directly, not say you are inferior to the future and I'm superior and here's why. Until that happens, there's no real campaign on the Republican side. We're going to start seeing that in the next month.
Major, always appreciate your perspective on, well, really everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can all enjoy a little bit more Padres baseball over the next couple of months than we did the first month and a half.
Having the Royals in town certainly helps.
Yeah,
it definitely does.
It does. Thanks, Major.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Major Garrett, Chief Washington correspondent for CBS News. I love that guy.
I do too.
He's such a he's
unbelievable,
smart person.
He's such a good, he's so well spoken. He's just the best.
Are you kidding me?
He's so good, man.
I thought a couple of his comments, it was good to remind everybody that Austin Nola got plunked in the face right at the end of spring training. Because I think I've kind of almost forgotten it at this point in the struggles.
I brougght it up like 4 times.
I know you have. I know you have.
It's fine. I get
But if Major brings
zero
it up,
credit.
it's okay.
Zero.
I also
Ever.
hadn't really thought about
Easy.
anything other than Padres games being packed as an unrelenting positive for the team. Hey, you got all this fan support. I mean, that's got to be way better than obviously playing in Oakland in front of 2,000 people, right? But there is a certain sense of pressure and expectation that comes with it that can mess with your head a little bit.
More than that, if the packed house, because those guys, look, they're egomaniacs. You have to be to play that game. You have to be. They love it. They want the bigger, the better, the louder, the more raucous. They don't care. The pressure of this is going to be the best offense in baseball history from me, from you, from Paul, from Coach, from Ello, from Gwynn, from Agler, from Ken Rosenthal, from Jeff Passan, from everybody in baseball, everybody, to a man or woman. This is going to be Murderer's Row, Mount Crush. What should we call them, guys? At this point, you can call them the 4 turds because that's how it's worked for 6 weeks. But like Major said, there's so much more baseball to play. That's the pressure
it's a great point.
We're going to be the best.
Maybe if you just try to be okay, the greatness will come. But if you're trying so hard to be great, that's when all the pressing and struggling comes into play.
It's exactly right.
All right, all guests appear on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, buy new roads. Back to reset it all. Second half of Ben Woods next on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we are halfway home on a Tuesday. It's May 16th. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. A gray and chilly-ish looking morning. I don't know how chilly it is. It's 1,000 degrees in here.
It's actually on the warm, not warm, but there's some humidity that's keeping the heat trapped in. Angelica explained this on our weather forecast last night, that the clouds overnight will trap in some of the previous afternoon's heat,
okay,
which makes for actually a much warmer overnight and morning, as opposed to, this clear nights. That's when all the heat dissipates, and then you get the really cold morning when there's no clouds.
Well, this studio is either 48 degrees or 87 degrees, and right now it says 69, but it's not 69 in here. It's not. I'm sweating.
You're warmer than usual. I'm okay. So
I'm sweating.
I think you've just got some overheating issues.
Well, I just had a cup of hot.
That's
tea.
part of it. Yeah,
probably doesn't help.
You've just been kind of hot all morning. I look at you over there. You've been a little extra
hot,
agitated. You've just
I'm good.
No. You've got a little extra
edge,
energy and edge going.
I feel great. I'm better.
Life is not a bad thing.
Life is good.
Some people will actually say that energy is a good thing for a morning radio host.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily adhere to that
Subscribe
myself all
to that.
the time.
Yeah, it's true.
As the member of our trio that occasionally falls asleep during commercials.
Correct.
Looking outside,
The actual segment.
We're talking weather. I was reading about upcoming El Nino, not Fernando Tatis Jr.
Right.
The actual El Nino could roll in like within the next month or two,
Okay.
and then it's there. It'll be here until I think they said February of next year. Meaning we're gonna get a. It won't really do anything during the summer, I guess, but the upcoming winter, it's going to be very wet, very cold, worse than we've had it in the last year or two.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard.
Do you need a Ben's playing El Nino, or do we all know what that is?
I do.
I had to read. I read all.
I'll be honest. I do need you to.
You do?
Yeah.
So it's a warming of the waters of the Pacific Ocean, certain area kind of in southern latitudes that changes the weather patterns and generally brings us a much more wet flow of storms in the San Diego area that we wouldn't normally get in our typical winter season. So get an El Nino going, a warming of the waters, you can expect a lot more rain and a stormier winter ahead. But it's not 100% foolproof. That's it's just one of those long-term projections that they look at.
Sounds terrible.
Doesn't happen often, right?
No, I mean, every few years it pops up. We had one and then it didn't turn into like a huge storm. But then, of course, this last winter we didn't have one and we had rain all the time. So yeah, it's not 100% certain what happens with the weather depending on the ocean. But
today is, by the way,
what is today?
Today is, well, it's a Padres victory Tuesday. Number one, let's start there. 4-0 win last night. It was ugly. We're going to talk more about it today, certainly. Paul, it's about damn time. Paulie put on the rundown that today is actually National Classic Movie Day. Fan of classic movies.
I'll have to admit that despite projecting sometimes myself as the erudite member of our trio, I've never liked the old black and white movies. I've just never been able to get into the Citizen Kanes and the real
Casablanca.
Yeah, the classic Hollywood type movies. I'll put them on and it's like I'll watch a few minutes. Like I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Now, what's funny is that we're talking about Citizen Kane and Casablanca and Gone with the Wind. My wife looks at movies like Top Gun and she's like, I can't watch this. It's old as dirt. And I'm like, it still holds up.
Is that a classic movie? I guess it's almost 40 years old.
For her, it's a classic movie. I mean, right? Like she's younger, so she's like, I can't watch. She can't watch movies from the 80s.
I mean,
she's like repulsed by them.
Yeah, I'm 32. I would say a classic movie, like anything John Hughes. That's a classic.
That's
movie.
a classic movie. Like
Breakfast
Ferris Bueller's
Club,
Day Off.
Just did the double feature. I think it was on
movie.
Showtime. It was 16 Candles followed by Breakfast Club. I was like, okay, I'm all in.
Those are two.
Those are classics.
Well, it's like anything. I'm driving in my car the other day, and there's a classic rock station in town, and they're playing Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm like,
but
like that's classic rock now. Oh my God, things change.
It all depends. I mean, a classic doesn't necessarily have to mean old.
Correct. Classic by definition.
You
is
could call The Breakfast Club a classic. You could call it an oldie. You could call a movie from 10 years ago is a classic. It's an
I think there has
classic.
to be some. But I do think there has to be some time and perspective before you can definitively call a movie or a piece of art classic. You can say this has the potential to be a classic.
I like instant
classic, but you still will need that passage of time before it becomes an actual classic.
That's fair. That's fair enough. I'll give you that. I've never been a fan of the old cinema from the old days.
Christmas, I don't do the It's a Wonderful Life thing.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never seen it one time. I've never watched it.
It's one of those things. My mom was like, it was always like, we got to watch it. We got to watch it. We watch it. We watch it every year. We got to watch it. I'm like, no, we don't. Just because something is 70 years old doesn't mean it's great. And we have to keep watching it. Just because you did it 40 years ago, we don't have to keep watching
tradition,
it.
Though. That's a tradition.
Hot take, but aren't actors and actresses today like 10,000 times better than those like 30s and 40s Hollywood stars? They were more like stage projecting actors, even in the movies.
I thought they were all like, see? I mean, give me 2 bits, dog.
Now you've got
quite
like,
a name. No, you're
you
quite
never,
a name.
I don't really, you never saw a lot of visceral emotion like you do now in those classic movies. It was
somebody's
more
going to rip us for this.
You
like what you like, but like I remember taking a film class in college as an elective, and it was like all that. I'm like, oh my God, I do not want. I watched Rebel Without a Cause, and I was like, all right, I'll like this. James Dean, the Rebel. I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Heat is a classic. That's what I want to. I want to watch De Niro and Pacino squaring off in a coffee shop. That's
Godfather.
That's a classic. I don't know. So hey, however you celebrate today, go put on. Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is widely regarded as the best movie of all time.
I'm never going to watch it.
I watched 15 minutes. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? But then again, like I'm weird with movies. I've never seen an Avengers movie. I've never seen any of those. I have never gotten into that genre either, which is odd. It's odd. I've never sat down and watched those. But happy National Classic Movie Day to you guys. Also, National Check Your Wipers Day. So
fitting.
Check your wipers.
Like your windshield wipers.
Your windshield wipers. Yeah.
I need windshield wiper fluid. I'm low, so I need to fill up the tank.
Okay.
Again. That's about it.
Nolan, this is what great sports radio looks like. We have a guest.
Nolan's our visitor.
Today.
Yeah.
He's our visitor. He's probably texting his friends like, these guys are idiots. They're literal idiots. I've never heard anything like this.
Thanks again to Major Garrett, who just joined us in our last segment. And surprised, I think, especially Woods.
He really did.
But
I was waiting for the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, he's never been afraid to criticize the Padres when he felt like it was necessary or deserved.
He's got that confidence, though.
We were kind of thinking that we'd get a little bit more of that, but he definitely was preaching patience. And this team, he's still 1,000% confident that they're going to come around, and once the offense
win
does,
97 games and make the playoffs, and he is
incredible,
certain of that.
It's incredible.
That's not why we brought him on, but if he did make you feel better, then run with it.
I honestly thought he was going to light him up, but he had a lot of good reasoning.
You sound disappointed.
No, I'm not. You know what I'm disappointed at is that I've had the same takes as him, but I've been getting crushed for saying it's early. They'll figure it out. Like. It's the same thing. We've kind of all been in that camp of like, guys, there's still 100 plus games to go. 119, 118 games to go. It's so much baseball. But when we say it, we're giant P words and we're soft on the team and we're, whatever. I don't understand. I truly believe that. I truly believe like Major Garrett believes.
He threw out the position change as a possible reason why guys like Jake Cronenworth are struggling at the plate.
Thanks for bringing that up. I got a text yesterday from our pal Craig Elston. Randomly, I love it. I'll get random. We don't talk a lot of Padres baseball, just the two of us. But randomly, he'll get on one. He'll text me. He says, "Do you know what the worst position has been for the Padres this season?" This blew me away. What are your guesses?
Worst in what way?
What are the worst position offensively?
Offensively,
yeah.
Worst positions would be catcher. and first base.
I said first or third because Manny's really scuffled. And then he goes first base. Anyone playing first base for the Padres this year has combined to slash 158, 287, 259.
Even Jake's good games have come actually when he was at second. Yeah.
With 1 home run and 10 RBI, an OPS plus of 45, which is 3 points lower than the catching position, first base. He says Cronenworth to first has been an absolute disaster. In his 6 starts at second base, he's OPSing 1,300.
But I don't
in my mind,
I don't see how one thing can have anything to do with the other.
Comfortability, maybe? I don't know.
But why? I mean, if you're making
hitting is hitting. I get it.
If you're making a position change, I certainly can understand the argument. I've had to put in a lot of work learning how to play first base, and maybe I didn't get to focus as much on the offense. But going over to second base for one day doesn't change everything about all the time you've put in
6 days
working. I mean, but one day at a time doesn't change all the time and work that you've spent in
Understood.
at first base. In fact, you probably need to do more to refresh yourself at second base on those days when you're going over there at this point.
Understood.
So to me, that one would have nothing to do with the other on the offensive performance of which spot you're playing that particular day.
So, but again, it's such a small sample. He's 6 games at second, OPS of over 1,300. You can't have those numbers from your first base and our first base. We did this yesterday.
Padres have had this for many years, actually, where they have given up so much offense to the rest of the league at first base.
So much.
A position that is generally one of the easier spots to find a good hitter.
Yeah.
That you don't need an unbelievable, talented defensive athlete to play that position.
You may now more than before with rule changes and things like that. It's great because you watch his defense at first and you're like, hell yeah. I would be interested in the next time we talk to Crony saying, hey man, you've seen the disparity in your numbers. And again, only six games at second. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? B, in your mind, wouldn't you say, bro, put me in second where I mash? No? No?
I just, other than
let's switch roles.
Random superstition.
Let's switch roles for a week and see how you like it. See if you're more comfortable being the two than the driver and the mechanics guy.
But ultimately, the Padres, the best version of the lineup, the reason they put Jake there in the first place is they're trying to get the best players out there.
That's exactly
and
right.
They give up a lot defensively if they have Matt Carpenter out at first base.
And I'm not saying you got to go out and go get Rowdy Tellez or something to play first base or Vogel Snatch or whatever. But
now, if you had a consistent offensive performer that could play that base, if you did acquire someone and bump Jake over to second, maybe there you have a new best construction of your lineup.
That was part of what Ken Rosenthal wrote in The Athletic that we talked about in the 7 o'clock hour. He talked about Jake Cronenworth specifically, and he said, look, he's struggling offensively. There's no denying that. When he's playing second base and, really good defensive second baseman, you can kind of live with that. It's not a glaring black hole in your lineup.
But you'll live with a 1,300 OPS at
100%,
second base.
100%. But when he's struggling as your first baseman, which is even if it's just for optics, that is a position that we have all grown accustomed to being the power hitter, one of your power hitters. And when you have that and your DH are just giving you nothing, it feels like it's a lot worse than maybe it is.
Is a better version of this team a different first baseman, Crony at second, Xander at short, Manny at third?
Well, who's the first baseman? And I'll tell you yes or no.
Go out and get somebody.
Go get somebody.
Yeah. Well, if you can improve your offense by leaps and bounds at first base and move Crony over to second, then that's a better version of this team.
What was he saying about the Dodgers though? They have the ability to move guys right.
Yeah, Mookie can play a bunch of positions.
Mookie Betts play short, and I watched him sail the first.
They're a bad defensive team.
They're terrible defensively. Terrible. I watched him throw the first chance he got on a candy hob. I watched him throw it 10 feet left of the bag. So, what are we talking about here? Let
me ask you this: Opening day 2024, is Cronenworth your first baseman?
He's my second baseman, probably.
AJ Preller probably doesn't think that way though. he'll look at the market and go, hey, this guy is available. I love him offensively. Or where could we put him on the field? Well, I guess we put him at first base. I could move Jake back to second. He thinks in terms of acquiring talented baseball players. Then they figure out what to do with them once they have them.
Do they, though? Because look at how good our defense is. These are, Ha-Seong Kim, I'd say, is a glove first guy. And unfortunately, right now, Jake Cronenworth's a glove first guy. But you have so many guys that are glove first guys on this team. Trent Grisham, Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim, who is playing better lately. You can't have 3-4 guys in the lineup that are glove first guys. You can have one, maybe two.
All right, we'll talk some more Padres baseball. We've got Jesse Agler joining us at the bottom of the hour. But when we come back, Basketball Ben has a giant Woj bomb that just dropped to let you know about. We'll get to that coming up next after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan. Breaking news on 97.3 The Fan is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. And the Woj bomb from Adrian Wojnarowski a couple of minutes ago, breaking the 76ers dismissed coach Doc Rivers on Tuesday. Sources tell ESPN Rivers led the Sixers to the Eastern Conference semifinals in each of his 3 seasons on the job. But that was the problem. He was hired to get them past that level. They had gotten to the first and second round many years in a row, but can't get over the hump, and once again unable to do so against the Boston Celtics. Woj says the Sixers' search for a new coach is expected to include Mike Budenholzer, Sam Cassell, Mike D'Antoni, Nick Nurse, Frank Vogel, and Monty Williams. So
same names,
a lot of the same names.
That Phoenix is now in the market.
Other than Monty Williams,
other than Monty Williams, yeah. Dave Roberts is
maybe
probably
throw in Doc Rivers in the Phoenix search now as well.
Dave Roberts probably quaking in his boots. He said they've been to the Eastern Conference semifinals.
All 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Yes.
That's not good enough.
Essentially the division series round of the NBA playoffs.
Wow.
Still surprising.
Demanding more up there.
It's tough. I mean, it's the same reason that he got let go from the Clippers. Couldn't get them over the hump.
I like Doc. It's
as well. Yeah, I do too. But I'd be hesitant if I want my team to win a championship. I'd be very hesitant to say Doc Rivers is going to be my coach to do that now. Kind of like the Marty Schottenheimer of the NBA. Great
Dave
regular
Roberts.
season. Yeah.
Dave Roberts. Every year.
Playoffs. Doesn't get it done every single year.
Every year.
Ben, you do a great job.
Yeah. You do a great job. I think so, and Dave Roberts thinks you do a great job.
But that's 2, at least somewhat surprising coach firings in the last few days. Monty Williams, 2-time coach of the year, last 4 years.
It always comes down when a good team that makes a good playoff run fires their head coach. For me, it's always, who are you going to get better?
Right.
It's not like you won 20 games. You went 20-62, and it was a nightmare, and you got to find something new to get going.
The NBA and the NFL are big fans of the heads will roll bit, and they act on it a lot. In the NFL, certainly. Like, you don't get in an inordinate amount of time to figure it out. And I think there's been instances of guys that have been fired a little bit too early. And I think, hey, listen, it always happens to you. Is it better too early than too late? Maybe.
I mean, obviously you don't want a coach who crumbles under the pressure of the playoffs or who panics in big situations. Do you think Marty did that a couple of times with the Chargers? But ultimately, I mean, if you're a Moneyball fan, what was the A's philosophy? Hey, we build a team to get to the playoffs, a regular season team. And then in the playoffs, it's too small of a sample size.
Anybody's game.
It's anybody's game.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the NBA and NFL are similar to that. It is a very small sample size. I think, a 7-game series in the NBA should, in most cases, separate the superior team. But so many of them go 7 games, so then it comes down to 1 game. And, it's a toss-up. It's a ref's call here or there. And you advance and you don't advance, and that's the difference between probably getting a long contract extension or getting fired for Doc Rivers.
It's just funny, man, because I always wonder what would I do if I was an owner, and I think you guys know me well enough. It would be hard to not be super reactionary, right? Like George Steinbrenner, right? Like firing a guy, rehiring six weeks later. I also know you can't run a business that way. You can't do it. Patience is truly a virtue. Doc Rivers is a good basketball coach. Now, we don't know behind the scenes. We just heard Joel Embiid throw his teammates under the bus. Is he in the owner's ear going, we can't win with Doc? Like, we can only get this so far. That changes things. I mean, when we all watched The Last Dance about Michael Jordan, and I mean, Michael Jordan pretty much wanted to make the decisions. Jerry Krause was firing Phil Jackson after winning a bunch of, he's like, this is your last season. He's like, I've won 4 titles or however many it was in The Last Dance. It doesn't make any sense sometimes. There's egos involved. There's power struggles involved. We have no idea why you drop the axe on a guy.
I do know that the best organizations are the ones that see it through and tend to have much more consistency and patience. the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
You only have
You feel like
three
Mike
coaches
Tomlin
over a 50-year period.
and you still feel
Cowher before him, Chuck Noll before him.
You still feel like Mike Tomlin still is the right man for the Steelers job. It would be weird as hell to have anybody else at the controls. That's a really good example.
I know that some baseball fans are probably going, but George Steinbrenner was the least patient owner in history.
And they
He won a
won.
bunch of rings. However, he found some patience.
He got patience.
Later, in his life and stuck with Joe Torre. I'm sure there were probably some moments where he might have wanted to pull the plug on Torre early, but once he found some patience, and of course, once you win, it makes it a lot easier to have that patience.
No doubt.
He stuck with it, and they won a bunch of rings.
It's just funny because don't you want a guy that can get you there and you just kind of want to ride it out to see if he can take the next step? The knock on Doc Rivers, as you said, this is now 2 teams that it's happened with. How much of it is on him? How much of it?
I mean, the NBA is such a players' league.
It's such a players' league.
It's hard to ascribe too much credit or blame to coaches in any circumstance.
Who won with the Lakers? Frank Vogel?
Yeah. He's one of the guys that got fired and is now a candidate to become the 76ers head coach.
Is he better than is he a better
LeBron has gone
coach?
through tons of coaches, Cleveland, over and over again. We've seen the story multiple times.
Yeah. So will Doc get another job?
One thing to think about. I think he'll get another job. I mean, if you're a sad sack team, I mean, you'd love what Doc Rivers has brought to the Clippers or the 76ers. Stability, playoffs. You worry about that next step. Just like when the Chargers hired Marty Schottenheimer and everyone goes, he's terrible in the playoffs. We're like, we haven't made the playoffs in forever. And then they started doing it consistently, and all of a sudden it wasn't good enough anymore. But at some point, you got to at least take a step forward.
Interesting.
I mean, Peter Seidler seems like he's pretty patient.
Yeah, I feel like he is.
But at the same time, he's changed managers a couple of times already, too, since he's been here.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Andy Green to Jace Tingler to Bob Melvin.
Peter
Ron Fowler was more of the Andy Green move. Jace Tingler to Bob Melvin was certainly a Peter Seidler, had to sign
rubber
off
stamp
on that decision.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
A lot of fans would have had AJ Preller out the door many years ago.
Yep.
But Peter has been steadfast in his faith and patience with his general manager.
100%.
All right, we've got Jesse Agler back. He was gone last week. He has returned this week. He's going to play the Incorporator. He's going to put it on television next to Mud Grant, which always makes a little bit spicier. That is coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. You can see what you missed. Click Listen on Demand. And it's a guest feature or anything that happened from earlier in the show. Just download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today to get started. For instance, in 3 hours, if you had missed Jesse Agler, you could tap on it, go back and listen to his interview that hasn't happened yet because he's standing by and will be joining us live after the check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad. Watch out for a little confusion on the Washington Street off-ramp northbound 163. Looks like a large tree branch fell into the roadway, and they're saying there could possibly be a water main break in the same area. So, yeah, I want to try and avoid that exit. Washington Street off-ramp northbound 163. Elsewhere around the county, no other trouble spots. Brought to you by Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad with all new 2023 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation package trucks, $4,000 off MSRP, over 15 in stock to choose from. Stop in or shop online at carlsbadbuickgmc.com, a proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. And Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we got him back. Let's go out to our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. And we are so pleased to welcome Jesse Agler back to 97.3 The Fan, even if he's not quite back on our radio broadcast yet, doing the TV this week on Valley Sports for Don Orsillo. Hello, Jesse.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
It's going well. We missed you, buddy.
Well, I missed you too, and sorry for the late cancel last week, but very glad to be back.
Well, it happens. Your timing was impeccable because you didn't have to call any of those Dodger Padre games in LA, and it's the same day I got off Twitter. Like you and I may be geniuses for not having to be so invested in those.
There may have been a few people that came up to me yesterday and said something along the lines of, "Well, if you're going to miss a week of games,
yes,
that might not have been the worst week ever." Wow.
So, Jesse, first of all, I've asked you this before, but how different is your job when working on radio versus working on television? Of course, I'm sure the biggest difference is when you switch from Tony Gwynn Jr. to Mud, you've got to account for the mud factor.
Yes. Yeah, no, the mud factor is significant. It's a very different conversation I have with Tony on a nightly basis than it is when I get to work with Mud. Both are great, but they are very, very different. But yeah, aside from that, I'd say on radio with Tony and I, it's kind of like playing doubles tennis. It's sort of like you're playing off one another. It's just the two of you. Yeah, Dave Marcus is there, but for the most part, it's the two of us doing our thing. And then on TV, it's kind of like it's 11 on 11 football. And maybe you're the quarterback or the offensive coordinator, but there's all the people in the truck. They're the camera operators. Everybody's kind of working together. In the booth, on the field, in the production truck. It's just like really, I don't even know how many people it is. It's got to be like 30, 40 people. Who are all trying to make it work and kind of all like run seamlessly and come together. And you're not to mix metaphors, but you're kind of playing point guard, I guess, a little bit, and just trying to keep up and keep the flow of the thing going. So it's a very different experience, certainly.
Does Mud do to you what he's done to me 1,000 times? Mud will get all excited about something and go, "Here, you got to watch this video," and then he'll pull it up on his phone and hold the phone into your face, and you're like,
"Yeah,
that's hysterical." Mud, does he do that to you? Does he show you a lot of videos on breaks?
On breaks, on buses, on airplanes, in hotels.
He does that bit so much, man.
Oh, it's not a bit. I mean, he's genuinely enthusiastic.
I mean, it could be anything. It could be, check out this clip from a documentary I was watching. Yes. Or it could just be like, oh, you know what?
Big YouTube guy.
My nephew swings the bat like that. Here, I think I got a video of him somewhere. Hang on, let me find it. Hang on 1 second.
And you sit and he's like, hang on, I'll find it. And you just sit there
10 minutes go by.
rotting, waiting. And then the payoff is never as good as the story. I'm like, Mud, you're a great storyteller. Just tell me the story. I'm on board.
There have been nights on the road where I will get a knock on my hotel room door, and he wants to show me a YouTube clip.
Oh my God. How do we stop him? He must be stopped. Like, we have to stop him.
He loves to share his love and share his enthusiasm.
I have to say, I did chuckle yesterday. So Jesse and Mud were displaying the the fanny pack giveaway. What are they calling it? They're not calling it
belt bag.
Belt bag.
Belt
bag.
bag
Fanny
giveaway.
pack is very out of date.
But the belt bag giveaway, and I think Jesse may have preloaded Mud's belt bag with certain items when he pulled out the mayonnaise packet
and the battery.
That's what I lost it, Jesse.
The battery killed me.
You never know when your remote might need a spare battery.
That
You got to
is
have a
true.
double A handy. Yeah, no. I mean, everybody, that's the beauty of the belt bag, right? Everybody is going to be able to use the belt bag for whatever it works for them. Maybe you use it to walk the dog and you want to have some poopy bags. Maybe you want to wear it, to work and you have some pens and pencils in there, or to school. And for Mud, it's a packet of mayonnaise and a double A battery.
So, sorry, Ben. Didn't mean to step on you there, buddy. Watch this YouTube video while I talk to Jesse real quick. Talking to our pal Jesse Agler here on Ben and Woods this morning. I'm a little guilty of it too, I'll admit. Listen, we don't complain about wins, right? A win is a win. This team desperately needed one. Your kind of take on the offense last night? Yeah, got a couple knocks in with runners in scoring position. That was great. But kind of give me your thoughts on the offense as a whole. Well, no, your offense last night's struggles.
It's always tricky when there's a guy like that on the mound. And I know that sounds weird, but there's definitely an element of, remember when you were like 10 years old and coach pitch was over and now for the first time there are kids pitching and you get up to the plate and you're like, how am I ever going to get a hit? Nothing is close. Right. And I mean, that's kind of what it felt like a little bit to me in last night's game. And anytime you see a guy who's wild like that, how do you square him up? You have to be patient. You have to sort of almost expect that he's going to be missing the zone more often than he's going to be hitting the zone. That was the case, by the way. I've never seen anything like it. 94 pitches, 39 strikes.
That's nuts, man.
How are you supposed to get a hit? Like, you never see a ratio like that. Like, a bad night would be 94 pitches and 50 strikes.
Right.
Like, 45 strikes. He was at 39. So, he's walking everybody. He's uncorking wild pitches. He hits Manny. That makes it very, very difficult to get into any kind of offensive rhythm. So basically, to put a bow on it, it goes back for me. What you said at the beginning is, at this point right now, you take a win. You've lost 5 straight. You've lost 7 of 8. You got to get a victory against a team like that. And that's what they did last night. No style points or anything like that. And, you kind of move on and try again tonight with maybe something of a different situation against Singer. But yeah, it's always tricky to get any sort of true offensive rhythm, I think, against a guy like that. You're going to have all the base traffic. You would love, obviously, for somebody to lace one into the gap or get one over the fence with a couple of guys on base. But again, a win is a win, and last night they needed a win.
It was so unusual, Jesse. You had to feel a little like Bob Uecker in Major League. Ball 4.
Yeah.
Ball 8. Ball 12.
It was a very Nuke LaLoosh. I was thinking it was Nuke LaLoosh on the mound.
The one to
5
the
walks,
backstop.
5 wild pitches. Yeah, balls go to hit the mascot last night. It was a rough watch. They let him sit out there and rot through it though. For 95 pitches.
He seemed to settle in, relatively speaking, I guess, in the 3rd inning. And look, we've seen that thing before where as a manager, right, you just don't want to burn up your entire bullpen. They're in the middle stop of a 3-city trip. They don't want to go out there and have to yank this guy in the 2nd inning, although they had Castillo warming in the 2nd, because it's going to put you behind the 8 ball for days afterwards. And the fact that the Padres weren't up, 6-0 or 7-0 at that point probably allowed them to do so.
On the other side, the Padres pitching was fantastic, and Michael Wacha has been better than I think anyone. Honestly, I think even expected him to be at this point. I mean, a couple of not great starts, but otherwise, he hasn't looked like a 5, Jesse. He's looked more like a 1 or a 2.
I mean, that's the beauty of having that kind of veteran depth in the rotation. And you could say a lot of the same things about Seth Lugo, who's on the mound tonight. Guys that I think we all sort of would call the 4 and 5 in the rotation. They pitch better than that. They pitch much better than that. And that's what a good team has to have, right? If you're going to be like a pennant contending team, a World Series contending team, you want to have guys at the quote unquote back end of your rotation who are veterans, who have been there, who have done that, who can be trusted. And look, we'll see when playoff time rolls around what the rotation looks like. God knows how many things are going to happen between May 16th and October 16th. But the reality is, to get through the long season, to be a really good team, those are the kinds of guys for me that you want at the quote unquote back end of your rotation. the young guys are fun and exciting, and when they click, it's great. But I think if you're really trying to compete for the big prize, which obviously the Padres are, I feel so much more comfortable with guys like that in the rotation than, with people who haven't necessarily been through the ringer. Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, they are not going to run into anything out on the mound at any point this year that's going to throw them off. Those one or two bad starts you mentioned, doesn't matter. Able to shrug them off because he's been through those struggles before. He's been through that. And now on the other side of it, he knows that he's capable of everything that he showed last night. So I was thrilled with those acquisitions for that very reason. Not because I necessarily expect either one of them to go out there and win 20 games, but because they're going to be consistent, because they're not going to be rattled by any situation, whether it's of their own creation or not. And that's the way really good teams are built.
It's so early. Talking to Jesse Agler here. It's so early. Still 115 plus games to go, Jesse. But you look at Wacha, you look at Lugo. That's what we've been missing come October, the last few years. And at some point, you're going to have to get in a room, get the graphs going, get the this is what they've got, this is what they've done. At some point, do you foresee maybe down the road, August, you got to maybe ease up a little bit on a guy like Lugo, especially, who has been very, very effective. But imagine him as a weapon, like with what they've done with Nick Martinez. Imagine those two guys being able to come in big playoff games and hold leads. Be amazing.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt. At some point, Lugo will run into something of an innings limit. My sense, just talking and reading and everything, is that it's probably higher than we all anticipate it is. Again, because he's a guy that's kind of like been there and done that. Generally, when you have a guy that goes from being a reliever the last few years into a starter, it's going to be a fairly limited kind of situation in terms of the innings that they'll let him throw. I don't know that it's going to be that limited for Lugo this year. But yes, at some point, they're going to have to make an adjustment there. And I would imagine if they haven't talked about it, they've at least thought about it. And I would guess that they've talked about it and kind of have an idea of the way that's going to go. And look, I don't want to get into the October rotation / bullpen conversation
in
mid-May because I don't know who's going to be on the team in October. But yes, you're right. There will be creativity. There will be things that are adjusted. Just for the very fact that, hey, if you end up in a wild card series, that's a best of 3.
Yep.
You only need 3 starting pitchers. You end up in the division series, that's a best of 5. Probably only need 3 starting pitchers. With normal off days back this year, which we didn't have last year. Even if you get to a best of 7, probably only going to need 4 starting pitchers. So yes, there will be adjustments that are able to be made. They'll optimize that. Teams are very good these days about figuring out exactly who kind of slots in where and everything. And you're right. There's some very, very interesting weapons out there. Don't forget, I'm still bullish on Ryan Weathers. I think he can play a very important role for this team. Brent Honeywell is a guy that's got some, length in his arm. If it comes to that at some point, they can use him in a different kind of role. You mentioned Martinez. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Martinez starts again at some point this year. So they've got some really good flexibility and some guys who I think, and Wacha's one of them, Lugo's one of them, they're in ring chasing mode. They want to win. Guys who have been around, guys who have kind of experienced, a lot, but don't have a championship. And so much like the guys in the clubhouse on the position player side, they are in ring chasing mode. And that certainly rings true for all of us.
Jesse, you work with a guy that's gone through the grind of 162 game baseball season as a position player, a hitter, and obviously knows a lot about hitting, maybe more than anybody that is in our inner circle. Certainly. What does Tony Gwynn Jr. think about the offensive struggles? Is he of the mind of it'll happen? The cream will rise to the top. They'll get it figured out. Or is he even a little confounded at this point?
Well, you tune into Gwen and Chris this afternoon at 2:00 to find out. You can call, I believe they have an 800 number where you can check in. My conversations with Tony are very nuanced and detailed, right? He's, especially off the air, he and I just pepper him with questions.
Mm-hmm.
I wear him out with this kind of stuff. And I think, for Tony, he is never, ever, because he's smarter than the rest of us, going to paint with a broad brush.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, these are the offensive things I see. It's going to be, here's what I see with Soto. Here's what I see with Cronenworth. Here's what I see with Machado. And, I think like everybody, he's going to have a little bit more of maybe a stronger opinion on one than the other.
Sure.
So, I think he's got the right idea. It's very easy to talk about the quote unquote offense. But in baseball, that's probably overly simplistic most of the time. Now, when everybody is sort of underperforming, which has been the case at times this year, it's easy to do that, and it's understandable to do that. But the reality is what Juan Soto is going through is not necessarily connected to what Manny's going through, which is not necessarily connected to what Fernando, coming back from the surgeries and the suspension, is going through. Every guy has got his own thing going on. And so, yeah, I would say Tony probably has a different opinion about one guy than he does about the other guy. And again, you're welcome to call, tweet, text, whatever. I'm sure Scraby can get you to the top of the line, and you can ask him yourself.
833-288-0973.
All right, I got a couple minutes.
There you go.
Couple minutes
Write
left.
it on your hand.
Jesse says he will do an incorporator
On TV. This is
tonight.
This is unbelievable.
Woods, you got a word, or do you need me to come through for you again?
Settle down.
Come on.
I've got a word.
All right.
I've got a word. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I had Paulie pull it.
Sialoquent.
Sialoquent. You ever heard that word before?
Sialoquent?
Sialoquent.
Spell it.
No.
Sialoquent. The definition: tending to spray saliva when speaking. Ben is very sialoquent. Very sialoquent.
Yeah.
A lot of spittle.
I don't spittle. I'm
You
not a
spittle.
I'm not a
all
spittler.
the time.
Maybe like Dick Vitale is sialoquent.
Lou Holtz is very.
But the question is, Mud sialoquent.
Mud could be sialoquent. Mud can show you a video of somebody being sialoquent as well.
I love it. That's a good one.
That's a
fun word. We can go with it a few different ways.
Hopefully, Bob Melvin
got
gets
some ideas percolating.
Hopefully, Bob Melvin gets into a screaming match with the umpire, and then it's a no-brainer.
Oh,
Makes it so easy.
A very sialoquent Bob Melvin out there.
Yeah, Jesse, you can't bank on that.
It's an
But
it's an adjective.
I'm really waiting to hear the Mud reaction to sialoquent.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's
I think he hears about 40% of what I say. So there's
like
a
that.
decent
Yeah,
chance.
exactly like
right
that.
at the other.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't realize
You might
I was
not
up to
get the
40.
big reaction you're looking for.
Jesse, we had Major Garrett on. He's like, hey, don't forget, Austin Nola got smoked in the face with the ball. Ben's like, that's a really good point. I said, I've made that point 40 times in the last 6 weeks. It just goes in one ear and out the other. It's amazing.
We're like a married couple.
We are.
That's what happens at a
Yeah.
certain point. Jesse,
welcome back.
Great to have you back, and thank you so much for your time as always.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Jesse Agler, voice of the Padres, television voice tonight on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline.
It kills me.
Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads, and listen for Sialoquent tonight if you're watching the TV broadcast.
Sialoquent.
Or, of course, we'll still have Bob and Tony for you here on 97.3 The Fan on the radio.
Spraying saliva when speaking. I think of Lou Holtz immediately.
Used to work with a radio host way back in the day who was extremely sialoquent.
Hacksaw.
Bill Werndell was his name. Very sialoquent.
Philly Billy.
Yeah, Philly. You had to keep a good 3-4 feet.
Get one of those COVID
away.
pains between
exactly.
you.
All right, we got 1 hour to go. It's Ben and Woods.
How can
Ryan will
that
report
be?
headlines. It's a big day in the NBA coming up next on
God.
The Fan. Our thanks again to Jesse Agler. It's great to have him back. He's got his incorporator word, sialoquent, to work into the broadcast tonight. He'll be on television with Mud, Bob, and Tony on the radio for Game 2 of the Padres Royals series. I didn't get a chance to ask Jesse because you wanted a follow-up question at the end, and
Sorry about
we
that.
ran out of time. It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. We can bring it up again later. He said something on the broadcast last night, and I didn't get all the details, but he said by certain metrics, if you look at it, Fernando Tatis Jr. has been the best right fielder in baseball so far this season. Not like adequate, not like, making some progress and improving, but when you look at some of the advanced metrics, and I think what we're talking about is range, amount of, outfield he can cover and make the catch, obviously arm strength and throws that he's made a couple of amazing ones, that he has already gone to the top of the charts when it comes to right fielders in Major League Baseball. And I thought that's remarkable.
It is.
After 1.5 months playing consistently at a position at the highest level of the sport that exists, you have in some ways surpassed guys who have been playing that position
we
their
all hoping
entire
for
life.
a few monmonths ago, like
Just
average, but maybe slightly better than
Well,
average.
and I think buy-in is a huge component. Huge. I think, hey, this is my role now, and I'm going to own this role. It's buy-in of it is number one for me. Number two, he's a freak athletically, and if you put catcher's gear on him, you could make him a serviceable catcher in a year. Honestly, he could do anything on a baseball field that he could pitch. He could play first. He could play short. He can play. We've seen it. Like, he is a natural athlete, Ben. But the buy-in for Fernando was always the issue. And now he is fully bought in. You see him out there. He has more fun than any outfielder I've ever seen. I don't get nervous when they hit it to right.
No,
I get nervous when they hit it to left.
I was about to say the same thing. At the start of the season, when a fly ball went to right field, even a routine
little
I got a little
palpitation.
fluttered, like, I hope he doesn't box this one. And then, as the tougher plays, I started thinking, ooh, this could be a tough one for him on the run, moving forward, moving back. Then he made those plays. And as we've gone along, I've started to feel like, ooh, there's a ball in the air to right field. Good. That's an out. That's an out.
You guys see him call Trent Grisham off last night in the gap that is usually the center fielder's ball every time. Fernando's like, I got it. And Trent's like, all right. It was great. I mean, he's confident. He's bought in. He's having fun. He's having fun when he's getting booed. He's having fun with all of it. And he's playing great, man. I what a nice surprise that's been. You can't even be really that surprised, but I think the buy-in was just clutch from him that said, yeah, man, I'd love to play shortstop. I've been a shortstop since I've been 5 years old. But if they need me in right field, I know I owe them a few. Done. And I'm going to go out there and be the best I can be. And he has been spectacular.
Padres fans want to remind you about our 12 Days in October podcast. And first of all, thanks to everyone who listened to the original first episode of 12 Games in October. It's out now. Episode 2 now ready for download. Matt Scraby hosting. Episode 2 focuses on Game 2 of the Wild Card Series with the Mets. You'll hear about the matchup. Blake Snell. That was the Jacob deGrom game, right? Game 2 of that series against the Mets last year.
Yeah, that was me blacking out in the third inning.
Trent Grisham.
We were at the
Leucadian doing the watch party.
I blacked out in the third.
Trent Grisham just getting started on what was going to be a historic postseason for him.
All the tier ones were buying me shots. What am I supposed to do? Say no?
We've got play-by-play from the game,
Bad,
deeper
dude.
look into Bob Melvin's pitching decisions. Just search 12 Games in October in the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
That was the night that I was planning on staying out and raging, and I got home and I looked at the clock and it was like 8:45.
Yeah.
And I was 3 sheets to the wind. I was like,
Paulie, do you have the little clip for us to play from the 12 Days in October episode 2? Oh, here's the teaser.
Runners on first and second, nobody out, and the batter will be Mark Canna. And again,
the October air was crisp and full of electricity. With Halloween approaching, you could almost feel the scary movie being written right in front of our eyes.
this will be the 10th pitch of the at-bat. On 3-2, Canna takes low ball four. Back-to-back 10-pitch walks issued by Moore at home. And the Mets have the bases loaded with nobody out.
The feeling of dread, despair, anxiety overwhelmed Padres fans watching.
The lefty McNeil, it's likely Morty Holmes stays in this ball game. 9 walks on the night for the Padres.
Yeah, that's why that was a short night for you.
I didn't even know Maury Home pitched that.
You don't remember him loading the bases up there in that game?
Sure don't. I think I made the wise of all the games to get blackout drunk for. That was the one.
True. That was definitely the one.
You know, I don't go out much. I don't get out much. When I do go out, it's pretty dangerous. That night, there were so many tier ones at the Lucchini. It was an unofficial watch. We just tweeted, "Hey, we're going to be there. Come watch."
Elbow to elbow, though,
bro. And they're like, "Here, let's go." And it was bad. That's the last time I've been intoxicated, by the way.
Really? You think so?
No. Paulie and I got pretty hammered.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's, fantasy cams.
There was at least one more.
Fantasy cam,
one more.
right? Yeah.
That was it.
All right. Speaking of
Opening
Paulie,
day.
I think he's sober right now, at least sober enough to deliver the Rindle report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Rindle report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Rindle Report with Paul Rindle.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Rindle Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. Gentlemen, we just had a very similar conversation like last week to the one we're about to have. Last week, we talked about the NHL draft lottery and the rights to Connor Bedard.
I was sick that day.
Yeah, you
That's
were.
right.
But I was listening to Woods trying to figure out who was going to be the number 1 pick in the NHL draft.
Connor Bedard.
Who was the other?
Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid.
Very good hockey player for the Edmonton Oilers.
Correct.
By the way.
That still shocks me that you pulled that one out of thin air. But tonight is the NBA lottery draft, and they're saying it's the most anticipated NBA draft since the legendary 2003 NBA draft that saw LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and others. And it's because of the 7'5" prospect from France, Victor Wembanyama. Wemby. He is, I mean, dude, if you have any interest at all, go to YouTube, type in Victor Wembanyama highlights. He is 7'5". He has an 8-foot wingspan. He blocks everything that comes his way.
Good
He
God.
can beat you off the dribble. He can run down the court well. He can shoot from well beyond 3 points. He's like Shohei Ohtani kind of stuff. We've never seen anything like this before.
There was a video of him not that long ago taking a 3-pointer. He knew he missed it, left it short. Rebound, alley-oop, dunk on his own on a missed 3-pointer. It's stunning. Now, anyone can be a bust in the NBA. People who are not hyperbolic screamers, like Jay Billis was saying, honestly, if you had to pick one, like LeBron coming out when he came out or Wembanyama, I think I'd go with Wembanyama at this point. And you remember how hyped LeBron was, and of course he's lived up to all the hype over 20 years. That's how good this guy is. Whoever wins the draft lottery tonight, it will be a franchise changer. And we don't know. The ping pong balls will determine which franchise will be changed for the next
14 teams.
2 decades.
14 teams that missed the playoffs make up the lottery, and they all have a chance. It's based on record. So New Orleans just missed the playoffs. They finished 42-40. They're in the lottery, but they have a 0.5% chance of getting the number 1 pick.
Like 1 in 200 or something.
3 teams have a 14% chance, the highest odds of winning the number 1 overall pick. It's Detroit, Houston, and San Antonio.
So the same as the chances of Austin Nola getting a base hit.
Wow.
They have a chance of winning. I'm just putting it in. I'm giving you the perspective. It's not a huge chance, even for the favorites. Every team has to beat some long odds.
That man has a family.
He's got a family.
The hell is wrong? Are you drunk?
I'm not. I'm just giving you. I was trying to think of something that happens about 14 out of 100 times. That was the first thing that came to mind right now.
Well, stay tuned for that.
Do you have a rooting interest? Any team that you're pulling for? I think that for
Where's
me,
the best fit?
For me, the team that I would like to see him go to that I think would be the most exciting would be the Portland Trailblazers.
Him and
Dame getting put together and giving that franchise a chance at revitalization. I think that would be
Portland
incredibly interesting.
10.5% chance of getting the lottery, the number 1 pick. You have any other Padres you want to throw under the bus with that?
No, I don't think there are any. I mean, Odor for a while, but I think he's up a little bit now.
Okay. Well, we'll move on. Just a minor note here, but it's a good feel-good story in sports. Joe Burrow has recently agreed to pay for 20 local families in Cincinnati at the Children's Hospital to receive like extensive mental health treatment.
Oh, that's rad.
And his father was doing an interview and said that Joe Burrow's foundation, they took applications and all of that, and they wanted to help a family. They couldn't narrow the list down. So instead of trying to whittle the list of however many down to 20, 15, 10, 5, one family, Burrow said, screw it.
Take it.
All 20 families are going to get some help.
Ah, it's so cool.
And I just love seeing that.
Good
love
dude.
He seems like a really good guy.
Good dude.
NFL seems like it's actually in a pretty good place with some of the young superstars.
Yeah, some of the young guys. Yep, you're absolutely right. Some of the older guys, not so much, but the young guys, the next generation of dudes are all pretty solid citizens.
Yes. And finally, this is kind of sportsy, I guess. I don't know what surprised me more this morning, finding out that the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue is still even a thing.
Still a thing?
Or who was on the cover? Do you know who's on the cover?
Don't they have multiple covers?
I think it's multiple covers, but yeah, I saw we had a story last night, so I know one of the covers.
Is it Martha Stewart?
Is Martha Stewart.
81-year-old.
She's 81.
Martha Stewart.
Would. Would. 100%.
It's on the cover.
She looks good on the cover.
She looks fantastic. Better than we could look on the cover.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I remember the days of our youth. And that was my grandmother used to get me a subscription to Sports Illustrated and National Geographic when I was a kid for Christmas. Darling, I've renewed your subscriptions to National Geographic and Sports Illustrated. Here's also a $20 savings bond. Thanks, Grams. But, you know what you get with National Geographic every now and then, which was better than nothing, let's be honest. And then the SI swimsuit issue was like a race to the mailbox between me and my dad to see who could get it first. But it was fantastic when you were a little kid, right?
I mean, the internet didn't exist back then.
There was no internet. No internet. You rip out pages.
Completely different world.
Completely different world.
But it does feel like it doesn't necessarily belong anymore in the year 2023.
Have we moved past
culturally and just,
Well, there's, yeah. This is everything you want is at your fingertips, and even things that you shouldn't see.
Yeah.
That said, if it was here, I would thumb through it.
Well, it
doesn't make me a bad person, does it?
It's on newsstands now.
My wife
yesterday.
My wife ringing the bell on me right now. I apologize. I like fashion, so that's why I look at it. Don't get all shy.
No, I'm just saying that those are not the kind of swimsuits that generally people are wearing just to the beach.
How do you know?
Because I go to the beach sometimes. People
when
are not
was
wearing...
the last time you went
to the beach? Probably
2015.
No, sure I was there at some point last
Not
summer.
Hawaii.
I was in Hawaii.
You were on a beach by yourself.
I was also on a crowded beach in Waikiki.
And you didn't see those kind of swimsuits.
No, I mean, there's, but those fashion ones that are just
they're all inclusive
really
now. There's all shapes and sizes, and I think that's
which is good.
It's great. You just think we've moved past the need for it, or is it?
I guess.
Why do you hate women feeling empowered and celebrating their bodies? That's what I want.
Good question.
That is, Paulie, that is a good question, I think. Ben?
I mean, does anyone actually get Sports Illustrated, the physical issue anymore, or is it just an online? Isn't it just an online publication at this point?
Like, if it's so easy, you should take your shirt off and do the rest of the show
Not easy,
shirtless.
Not saying it's easy. I'm saying that it's no different than a million other websites now.
I mean, it is.
How is it different?
Because they were wearing clothes. I think the website you're referring to for one.
That would be a different.
There's websites with people in clothes too. Yeah,
for a different experience. Thank you, Paulie.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. I just saw some news involving the MLS to San Diego, trying to confirm what was just reported online. We'll let you know what could be coming up in just the next couple of days here in America's finest city. That's coming up. First, let's get a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Oh, Woods, are you ready for another soccer team in San Diego? Because it looks like it is happening. I saw yesterday there was a report in the London Daily Mail. It sounds very exotic. That as soon as Thursday, there could be an announcement on the MLS to San Diego.
May 25th was the date, but that sounds a little early.
It's now coming earlier. And then this morning, I don't know this podcast in particular, but local podcast, soccer podcast called Two Balls and a Mic.
I've been on it.
I know those guys.
You know those guys?
Too. Yeah,
They're
I've been on it.
just reporting that MLS San Diego is confirmed. A public event will be held at Snapdragon Stadium, 7 p.m. Saturday, May 20th, open to the public, essentially to introduce the new MLS team franchise coming to San Diego.
Now, somebody that I know did a little recon and went to GoDaddy and looked up a potential name.
The domain.
Ooh.
And it was
the Chargers.
San Diego FC.
It's understated.
Very safe.
Very understated, but it's there. It's the style
It's safe.
It's the style of MLS names for the most
Real
part.
San Diego.
There's Miami FC, and there's
Inter San Diego.
San Diego United.
Now, the reaction from the soccer fans on my timeline kind of mixed.
Yeah, I've seen a lot
you
of
get
mixed too.
Loyal fans who just aren't happy with how it's all played out, and the fact that they'll have their team, and then there's going to be an MLS team, and there's going to be no cooperation or overlap between the two. We'll simply have another team here in San Diego to support now on two different soccer levels. The top two levels of men's professional soccer in the United States.
It's pretty wild, man, to think that in a soccer market like this, that Landon Donovan would not be involved with the major league franchise. But by all accounts, the Loyal are going to continue to try to soldier on, and guys are going to stay loyal to the Loyal and go to the games. And I don't think anything much will change for them other than, there's another entity in town to maybe pull from, and I don't know. It's a lot of soccer teams in this town. So see how it plays out. I like I told you, man, some of my dear friends are part of the locals group, and I feel terrible for them. I do. It's a bummer for them. Then again, the other side, which I've said from the beginning, I'm in favor of whatever makes San Diego a better sports market, right? I don't know how much we'll cover the MLS team, being that we're who we are, but anything that helps attract people to this phenomenal city, I'm on board with, as long as it's kind of done, obviously the right way. And I think that's kind of the big problem with some of the Loyal supporters too. They're kind of bummed with the way that it's gone down.
So I don't know how much people in San Diego know about the MLS. I mean, I'm sure soccer fans have followed it closely, but if you're not a diehard soccer person but are interested, now that San Diego is going to have a top level team, one thing that's interesting is that the Major League Soccer season generally runs kind of about the same as the baseball season. Starts during spring training, late February, early March, and then runs through mid-October all the way to the playoffs in the MLS Cup, kind of the same time around when the World Series is each year. The San Diego FC would be the 30th team in the league.
Okay.
Be the same as Major League Baseball. There are, like baseball, 2 LA teams already in the league, including the Los Angeles Galaxy, who have the most all-time MLS Cup titles with 5, and the defending champions, Los Angeles FC, LAFC, who play up in their own stadium on the campus of USC, that one right there. But you got those 2 rivals kind of built into Southern California already. And I think we'll see if with the announcement, if it comes this week, but I think they're looking to start in the year 2025, we've heard.
Yes.
For the new San Diego team. So this season, next season, and then San Diego would play the following season in MLS soccer.
Why the 2-year lag? You have the stadium.
Well, I mean, obviously you're not going to start this year.
Right. Can't do it this year.
Could they get everything up and running enough to get, there would probably be an expansion draft of some sort and everything, or do they need a little more run-up time to get everything going before you start your team?
And they're just adding one team right now?
Right now, just the one team, I think, to make it an even 30.
Don't forget, you need the canopies.
Got to have those.
$50 million in canopies.
And we'll see if that's part of it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it has
San
been reported
Diego
with that.
FC, LFG, SDFC.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, I mean, look at what the Wave done. You know, you track top talent like Alex Morgan here, who's such a huge name. I mean, this is an interesting soccer town to be sure. So watching how it plays out is going to be pretty fascinating. As somebody that gets to kind of watch outside looking in, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Try to keep it peaceful, everybody. I know it's difficult to do.
Snapdragon's actually larger than the average MLS stadium. When you look at some of the other fields, a lot of them are in the 18,000, 19,000, 20,000, 22, 19. Seattle has a lot. They play at the football stadium. They shrink it to 37,000. That's one of the few that would be bigger than Snapdragon. Atlanta United FC plays in the Falcons Mercedes-Benz Stadium at 42,000. But for the most part, it's going to be one of the bigger venues in MLS at Snapdragon Stadium.
So the majority owner owns a Danish club as well. So get ready for an influx of Danes in San Diego.
He's also like an Egyptian billionaire. And then he's teaming with the Siquan Nation to kind of be the local element of the ownership group here in San Diego.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Should be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, this is the top level of soccer in the United States.
Yeah, Major League Soccer.
It's weird. How often does a city have the prospect of bringing a major sports team to town and they're so conflicted about it?
It's a good question. I mean, you'd have to live in other markets to know. You know, I was talking to my buddy in Dallas about FC Dallas, and he said, concept-wise, great idea. I mean, yes, Dallas is a big sports market. Their location, though, is in Frisco. It would basically be, take downtown San Diego and put a soccer team north of Oceanside. Hey, we're Major League Soccer. And people are like, I'm not driving up there. It's for the soccer mom families, kids. There's a ton of schools. It's a really growing area, but you don't get the influx of.
It's a suburban team.
It's a very, very suburban team. And I think they do pretty well, but that's also a market with every team imaginable. So it will be interesting to see. And I do think, like I said, as a sports radio host, great. Just another content stream, if you will. So, and if it helps lure and attract other things here, fantastic.
Just quickly, because I saw it yesterday, franchise relocation, the Oakland A's have reportedly reached a deal for a $1.5 billion stadium.
Is it at the Trop?
Yeah, tear down the Trop on the corner there of the Strip where the New York, Excalibur, MGM Grand.
Sucker's going to be right down there.
The other corner is going to be the A's partially domed stadium and a hotel on that corner of the Strip. But it's still not final. They're still asking the state for a bunch of money, $400 million from the Nevada legislature. They'll need approval from MLB to move. Got to figure they wouldn't be this far down the road if they didn't think they were going to get MLB approval. And I feel bad for the fans in Oakland. They had the lowest attendance there in like 50 years last night. 2,064 people at the Oakland A's game last night. 2,064, the announced attendance. It's about 22 times less than they had at Petco Park last night for the sold-out crowd for the Padres game. And it's not the A's fans' fault.
No, it's
no.
It's the owner's fault.
So they're out.
And they're going to reward him with a new $1.5 billion
I'm glad
stadium.
they're not going to games as the fans.
Yeah.
I'd be like, if they were, I'd be like, you guys are a bunch of suckers. What are you doing?
Suckers.
I mean, that's a 60,000 seat stadium, essentially, football stadium with 2,000 people in it.
Somebody showed a video of these two guys. There's no one there. They're standing on the rail on the second deck, like leaning over it, looking, and they were showing a video of the usher walking over. Gentlemen, you can't stand there. There's nobody in the whole
check your tickets.
The whole terrace, and she's like, "You need to return to your seat." It's like,
you guys are actually way up there.
These poor people that
come on
work
down and sit
there.
behind home plate. Everyone should just be invited to sit right behind home plate at that point.
Behind the dugouts, like anywhere that a camera is going to be, just try to fill up those sections.
We had a terrific conversation with Major Garrett a couple of hours ago. If you missed that, we're going to bring some of that back to you in our final segment of Ben and Woods, talking Padres baseball with one of our favorites next on 97.3 The Fan. Get live coverage of every Padres game on 97.3 The Fan through the Odyssey app. Wherever you are in the San Diego area, you can listen to every pitch of the Padres game on Odyssey. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan to get started. I assume that's how Major Garrett listens and watches as he is on the East Coast. Says he's not having to stay up quite as late anymore after the rule changes in Major League Baseball. We're going to talk with Major Garrett. Our conversation from a little bit earlier coming up after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Insperity. Got a couple of trouble spots wrapping up our morning drive. A collision on Oceanside Boulevard right at the southbound 5 and an accident on the Pershing on-ramp to northbound 5. It's over to the right shoulder. Providing scalable HR services, access to better benefits, payroll, and HR technology for over 35 years. Insperity's mission is to help businesses succeed so communities prosper. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. Visit Insperity.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And Major Garrett joins us now on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Fan Hotline. Good morning, Major.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Fantastic, my friend.
We're getting through. We're trying, but
Yep.
yeah, it's been not what we expected. Obviously, before we get to the Padres, though, I just had Paulie ask you. So you don't watch the show Succession, but
I do not.
So yeah, if people who do, this last episode was the election night episode, and it just got me thinking about you. And there's a big controversy on the show about making a call, like making a state call, like who won this certain state, and it's such a big deal.
It's so
And
fascinating.
it got me thinking about how you guys do that on an election night, and how big that is, how important that is for our democratic process, and what goes on behind the scenes in the real world. Not Succession, but the real world of Major Garrett.
Sure. So CBS News tries to be very transparent about the means by which we call a state on election night. I know this because in 2020 and in 2022, but especially in 2020, I was at the big board with our head of elections and surveys, Anthony Salvanto, and whenever we called a state, the first thing we did after calling it, projecting it for either Trump or Biden, was explain exactly why we made that call, based on the percentage of vote in, based on how much either the winner was ahead by or how much the trailing candidate needed to get of the outstanding vote. Where was that outstanding vote? What's the historical patterns of those areas where the outstanding vote is, and why we don't think, based on that mathematics, historical patterns, and other details, we think that trailing candidate can't catch up. Therefore, that's how we make a call. We try to be very, very open and explain every step of the way in places where the election results are close and the outcome likely hinges on that state call. If you remember, on 2020, Fox and the Associated Press called Arizona. CBS and all the rest of the other networks did not. And we kept having a conversation internally about it. And our guy, Anthony Salvanto, said, they're probably right, but our models do not allow us to make that call. And if our models don't allow us to make the call, we don't make it. Pure and simple.
That has got to be one of the most nerve-wracking decisions. All right.
Yeah.
Let's just say that's not exactly how it happened on Succession.
No, not at all. Not at all. Major, whenever the Padres are in a skid and, losing 5 games in a row, being anemic offensively.
Yes.
I often think of you because you are way out there on the East Coast and you are as dedicated as it gets. And my sympathies and heart goes out to you. How excruciating has it been this first couple of months?
So it's been hard. Look, I don't need to tell any Padre fan this has been a hard month and a half. Let's just review things that don't win ball games. Sellouts don't win ball games. God, I love to see the Petco Park filled, but sellouts don't win games. Salaries don't win baseball games. Expectations don't win baseball games. Predictions don't win baseball games. Baseball wins baseball games. And in 2 of the 3 most important parts, the Padres are playing really well. Pitching is better than expected. Defense has been outstanding. Offense has been a huge, conspicuous problem. The good news about this underwhelming start to the season is, with a team batting average of 198 with runners in scoring position equaled only by one other club in Padre history, the inaugural 1969 Padres were still in the race. So we're epically bad at the one component part of baseball that matters for winning baseball games, and we're still in it. And lots of other teams are struggling. Fans of the Mets, Phillies, Cardinals, Cubs, Yankees, Guardians, Astros, Angels, they're all kind of bummed out too. No one's really crushing it except the Braves, Dodgers, Rays, and Orioles. This team's going to win at least 97 games. We're going to go to the playoffs. It's all going to bounce back. I am 1,000% certain of that.
Major, what do you when you hear? We hear a lot of fans who have their theories as to why certain players have been struggling. One I hear a lot is, "Well, Manny just signed a new big deal, and Jake just signed a new long-term deal.
Yeah.
Now they're comfortable. They know that they
garbage.
know that they've got theirs, and for whatever reason, it's led to a poor performance." I don't believe that theory, but I know it's out there. What's your kind of take on, especially certain guys struggling, especially guys who just got their contracts?
So what I always think about contracts is this. It's not my money. Okay? I'm not invested in the money part of this at all. It's Peter Seidler's money and it's the player's money. It's reflected in ticket prices. So if you pay ticket prices, you are nominally involved, but it's not your money. Okay? So don't worry about it. I actually believe, especially in Jake Cronenworth's case, the contract has added pressure to him.
Yeah.
But there's something I think we're overlooking. I think we're overlooking, all of us as Padre fans, at the magnitude of change, not only within the roster, but positionally. Crony is playing first and playing it magnificently. Prioritizing defense is a headspace that takes away some of your headspace at the plate. Ha-Seong Kim is playing second, playing it very well, but that's also a positional shift, which changes your mentality, changes your brain space day to day. Soto's in left, plays it okay, sometimes below okay, but that's also an adjustment. So there's three players in the starting nine every day who have different brain space than they did last year as to what their daily requirements are. And I think it's had an effect, at least initially, on their offensive output. Look, we're all frustrated with Austin Nola. He got hit in the face late in spring training. I think that has had some effect on him. The magnitude of change, not even counting the pitch clock, which I think has thrown a lot of players' rhythm off, plus when you have veterans on a roster, veterans take time to adjust, and also veterans don't have that sort of youthful, spirited energy. So it looks, and this is so true about Manny, like he doesn't care. Manny cares. Manny cares immensely. He just doesn't look like it all the time. Same thing with Carpenter and Nelly Cruz. Those guys are veterans. They are going to figure this out. And trust me, San Diego Friar faithful, you want this time to happen now. You do not want it to happen in September. This team now understands fundamentally how hard it is to win baseball games. They will rally amongst one another. They will pull this stuff together. Also, lastly, I think this is one overlooked component of this. Bob Melvin is a great manager. Bob Melvin's entire managerial success has been built on what? Getting more out of less. He's never had a roster like this before. That takes some adjustment as well. He's learning. The players are learning. This will all come together. I'm, again, 1,000% certain of that.
I love that. I feel so much better talking to our pal Major Garrett, CBS Chief Washington correspondent here on Ben and Woods. Yeah, the chemistry, certainly I'm kind of a big believer in winning breeds chemistry, not the other way around. It's hard. There's a lot of turnover on this roster every single year, Major. There's a lot of turnover. That takes some getting used to, certainly. But if they can win 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row, they're going to look like they have the most team chemistry of any team in baseball. And that's really what it takes. And winning breeds culture, and that success breeds all of that. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Completely. And if there's one criticism I would have of the approach offensively, is that we've had a lot of individual at-bats, not nearly enough team at-bats. Okay, guys going up there trying, I'm going to do it for the team. No, do what the situation calls for. Either take pitches or go the other way, choke up, whatever. Do the kind of things that the team needs in that situation, and don't try to be the hero. I think there's a lot of players have internalized the expectations, internalized the huge crowds, internalized wanting to do well, wanting to satisfy a fan base that's starving for a world championship. All of that has accumulated pressure. This team needs to think like a team, think about team at bats. So even if you don't succeed, quote unquote, if you foul off 2 more pitches than you otherwise would have, that's a successful team at bat. Humility, a little bit more at the plate, a little bit more team orientation. I think those things will come. But if I had one criticism of the offensive approach, it's everyone's trying to be the hero. Don't try to be the hero, be a teammate.
Major, now that we're about a month and a half through the season, I don't know how many games you've gotten to watch, but
almost all of them.
Okay, well, then your impressions on the impact of the pitch clock and the other rules changes in baseball this season.
So I'm very much appreciative of the pitch clock because it lets me go to sleep at least 35 minutes early, which for an East Coast fan of a West Coast club really makes a difference. So the pace of play is so great. The three of us who are participating in this call have memories of baseball used to be played like this in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
This is much more like the game I grew up falling in love with and I grew up watching. I'm so much happier the shift is not there. I'm glad there are more attempts to steal bases. It puts more pressure on pitchers, more pressure on catchers. The geometry of the game has come back. I've talked to you guys before about how I was getting really sick of baseball being defined by two things, strikeouts and home runs, both of which are linear. The beauty of baseball is its geometry, how things move on the big plane of the field, players moving, baseball moving, players and run, all that stuff. That's returning. And it's made the fan experience and the pace of games so much better. But baseball players are ritualistic and finicky. And these changes are affecting how players play the game. And the adjustments, though subtle, I think are affecting players. I think it was a huge adjustment for Juan Soto out the gate. He's clearly made the adjustment. He's hitting better, more authority, barreling more balls up. We just need to get that up and down the lineup. The one thing that the lineup doesn't feel like is it doesn't feel as long and as tough as it actually is. It feels like it's got holes in it. It doesn't have holes in it, but it's playing that way. It won't play that way for the rest of the season.
Major, I started with an election question. I'm going to finish with one as well. I'm already seeing like candidates in Vermont and Iowa. It seems too early for that for me, but you know more about this. What are we going to be watching for the next year and a half here?
So on the Republican side, that's where the real conversation is, at least for now. As long as Biden is seeking re-election and there's no real desire among Democrats to do anything other than that, that's going to be pretty quiet. On the Republican side, this month ahead is going to be very important. DeSantis is going to get in. Tim Scott from South Carolina, Republican senator, is going to get in. Mike Pence is going to get in for sure. John Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, might get in, and Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, might get in. That would be 5 people adding to the Republican side of the ledger, at least in the next month. So you're going to start to see what the Republican conversation looks like. And Chris Christie said something last week I believe is fundamentally true. There isn't a campaign on the Republican side yet. Why? Because no one wants to criticize Trump, not directly, not say you are inferior to the future and I'm superior, and here's why. Until that happens, there's no real campaign on the Republican side. We're going to start seeing that in the next month.
Major, always appreciate your perspective on, well, really everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can all enjoy a little bit more Padres baseball over the next couple of months than we did the first month and a half.
Having the Royals in town certainly helps.
Yeah,
It definitely does.
It does. Thanks, Major.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Major and all of our guests appearing on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Just a quick look ahead to tonight's matchup. Kind of an interesting one for me. So the Royals will be throwing Brady Singer, right-hander, on the mound. 7.71 ERA. It's even worse on the road. However, he's more of a fastball guy with some life to it.
Yep.
And fastballs have been giving the Padres more problems this year than off-speed stuff generally.
It's exactly what you want from the team that was projected to be the best offense of all time. You definitely want them to struggle being on time for the fastball.
He will be up against Seth Lugo. I don't know whether Manny Machado would be available.
Haven't heard anything.
They said they're going to reevaluate today after x-rays were negative last night. Left the game in the 4th inning after getting hit in the hand in the 2nd inning. My guess is going to be some swelling. Bob Melvin is probably going to ask Manny to take a day or two off at the very least. Now, Manny may
pinch hit appearance, maybe.
Manny may say no, thank you, or late defensive replacement. Possibly if that's easier on the hand. Manny may talk his way into the starting lineup. Manny generally gets to do what Manny wants to do, but my guess is the training staff and Bob Melvin will be eager to say go ahead and take a day off. So it could be a Ha-Sung Kim at third base, and I liked what I've seen from Ha-Sung Kim lately. If he plays all season like he's done in May,
great.
He's a solid member of the team, solid addition to the club. That could mean Odor then at second base. Padres obviously give up a little bit defensively. I thought he swung the bat pretty well last night.
Better.
Though. He's certainly better than he was the first month of the season.
But
so
we made that point 1,000 times. It's not this to win this game tonight. You don't need Rugi Odor to come through. That's the thing. You need Tatis and Soto and Xander and Manny if he's in there, and Cronenworth and Carpenter and Nelly Cruz, who they're probably not going to start both of those guys. Those are the guys that need to come through. Anything you get from a Grisham, a Nola, a Brett Sullivan, a Rugi Odor, yeah, it'd be amazing. But the top of the order needs to eat tonight.
I feel like Tatis is really close. I mean, he had 2 hits yesterday. He just missed
a couple.
2 home runs, very close.
And he knew it.
I was off the bat there.
So glad you brought that up. I was going to tweet it, but I don't have Twitter.
You don't have Twitter anymore.
So I thought to myself, let everybody know that Tatis looks like he's really close.
I'm willing. If you want to text me something, I will tweet it on my account. Signed Stephen Woods. Good. Then you never have to see it, and you can still follow through on your. Good. All right.
The new bit is people that have my phone number now texting me their tweets, like you, for example, Benjamin.
I occasionally have to let you know what I tweeted, so you can see it.
Good. Adam's already trying to sell me getting back.
Getting back.
No. Sorry.
The grand re-entrance would be such a moment if you did come back.
No, it wouldn't.
You don't think so?
No. Because what do you?
If anything, I'll get. Here's what's going to happen.
I think they throw parades for you on Twitter.
Here's what's going to happen. You're gonna if you were to come back, like, hey guys, I'm back. I'm not going to check this a ton, but like,
right,
I'm here.
I can't stop. Paul.
10 people immediately. I knew it. You P-word.
Yeah.
I knew you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah. It's the fact that Adam wants me to do it makes me not want to do it more. Just FYI. My parents told me don't smoke cigarettes. I grabbed a pack of cigarettes, went down to the creek, and smoked them all. That's how I roll. So,
all right, that is it for us. 6:40 first pitch tonight, 5:40 pregame show. Padres Royals got game 1. Lakers Nuggets, the NBA draft lottery as well. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to talk about all of it. For Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, for our special guest Nolan. I think I called him Norman earlier. Sorry about that. I'm Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining us on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.